Welcome back to the Adventure Athletes podcast, world's #1 podcast for adventure athletes, celebrating those going through virtuous struggles in order to benefit the world around them. In this week's episode, I sit down with Mike Jenkins, who is returning for his second time round on the podcast after completing his 100-mile race. In this week's episode, we talk about how his idea of success has changed since his first podcast, how risky trigs came about, why a 100-miler isn't just two 50-milers, how he is recovering after his 100-mile race, and how training for Epona has helped him find his place in the world. Now, we are going through some changes with the podcast, not just with our editing, but we are looking at improving the quality overall and just changing up how we do things a bit. So just bear with us and you'll see some good changes soon. Now, at the end of each episode, we do set a weekly challenge for you guys, the listeners, to get involved with and live more like an adventure athlete. So if you want to find all of the previous ones, head over to adventureathletes.co.uk, head down to the podcast section, and you can find all of the previous week's challenges there, or just listen to the end to find out this week's challenge from Mike. Now, as you guys know, I am fundraising for BigMoose, where I'm aiming to raise £10,000 by flipping a tyre for the distance of a marathon. So if you want to go and support that, find out anything more about Mike or Adventure Athletes, please go and check the links in the description below. But for now, enjoy the podcast.
Let's go.
So I usually start off with my question of, what was your call to adventure? But you've already answered that because this is your second time round.
I never thought I'd be on a podcast. The first time ever in my life, to be honest. So, yeah, it's nice to be back on and talking about what's happened over the last few months since I've last been on with you, Will, because loads has happened. It's been a true roller coaster of ups and downs, and mainly ups, which has been, it's been good.
Yeah. And you've been on another podcast since as well.
I have been on the Just Run podcast.
Shout out to Nathan and Reese.
Yeah, that was a lot more light-hearted.
Yeah, mine's a little bit deeper, innit?
Yeah, so the Just Run podcast was great because we got to talk about the slam that obviously I'm doing, the Pegasus Slam and Epona this year, and talked about the Canem, the first race of the Slam, went on and spoke about that with a few of the other guys that I've met through this community. So that was good.
Yeah. So, getting started then, I would like a bit of an overview from, when did you come on? February?
February-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly when, but yeah, it was close to the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So what's happened since February?
So I know we spoke about therapy, didn't we, in the first episode? So I'm going to knock that topic off straight away.
Just going to close this window. There's screaming people outside.
It actually is as well, isn't it?
The mics are so good, they'll pick anything up.
So I'd finished my therapy with BigMoose. Obviously I was referred by yourself. It was really positive. Took a load of good stuff away from that experience and graduated from therapy, and it was able to answer a lot of questions I had in my mind about when I was younger. And yeah, so that happened, and then it was just training to getting ready for the Slam and Epona since then, conducting loads more recce's of the Epona route, breaking bones. So I managed to fall down a mountain in one of my recce's and snap my hand in 3 places with a pole in my hand, and still had about 6 miles left to go down to the car. 2-hour drive home, one-handed. Luckily I've got an automatic, to be honest, and spent 12 hours in A&E. But thank my lucky stars that I was able to heal within a couple of weeks and hold a pole again, and obviously start the Slam in April. So we had the Canem 40-miler beginning of April, which was, I'm not going to lie, it was absolutely brutal. So I'm going to retract something that I said on the first podcast. So obviously I've been doing ultras now for over half a decade, and generally enjoy ultras because I just think it's nice. You can slow down a little bit and have a bit of fun. And I did say that, you know, some of these ultras are not as hard as like road marathons and stuff. I'm going to completely retract that. So the Canham is an absolute brutal introduction into the slam, in which it's so flat that it just doesn't give you time to let up, and you feel quite guilty for walking it. So I think I walked for 6 minutes in the whole day. I had a really good day. Went to a bit of a dark place during the race. Not a dark place in a negative way, but a dark place in it was really tough and I got through it. And really good placing, really good time. Not that I care about times, but it was actually quite nice to do the race, and I did well, and I didn't expect that to ever happen during this process. So we had the Canal Ultramarathon. I couldn't walk for 3 days, practically. Really struggled to get in the car. It's so flat. You're just desperately asking for a hill. You know, you get, I think I was at mile 31, and I was just like, oh my God, just give me a mountain. I think I was coming not far from like Crickhowell, Llangynnad way by then, and I could see like Torrefall, the Dragon's Back, the Black Mountains, and I just wanted to veer off and go up there and get some elevation just for some rest in my legs. So I put a call out to any road runner that listens to this that enjoys marathons. If you really want to test yourself, go and have a go at the Canham, because it's essentially a road ultra for 43 miles. A lot of it's concrete. It's just pounding. So yeah, that was good. Really enjoyed that. And then you don't get much rest with the slam. You get like 4 weeks off. Second race was the Howam, which is the Heart of Wales Ultramarathon, which is in mid Wales. 13 miler. It's beautiful. Absolutely. It's probably one of my favourite ultras I've ever done. Starts with essentially a 16-mile climb to the source of the River Severn. Now, the source of the River Severn is just a bollard. It's quite it's quite underwhelming, the actual source, just a little trickle in this little bog, basically. And then you've basically got 14 miles downhill. So that's fun. So you put all your work in the beginning, power hiking the hill, and then you get a chance to have a real good go downhill to the finish, essentially. So that was a good event. Obviously, after I broke my hand, I've lost a bit of confidence going downhill. Naturally, if you take a bit of a hit like that, it kind of plays on your mind. So I used the Howam basically to enjoy my way up. But on the downhill, I had a bit of a go. And by a bit of a go, I mean, I think I was doing I did a half a mile at like 5 minute per mile pace. Eased off it a little bit. Ended up doing a couple of miles at a stupid pace for an ultra. And then when I got to the bottom, my hamstrings both cramped up. So I had to deal with 10 miles of just consistent cramps every few steps. They would just go boom, boom. Oh my God. So I kind of learned a bit of a lesson there. I probably went in a bit too confident now, because I'll just enjoy today. And then got bit in the arse a little bit. But nevertheless, it was a good day and enjoyed it. So after that then, what do we have? Had the Vogum, which is the Vale of Glamorgan Ultramarathon. That's my home race. I've done races on those trails for years. I reached out and asked for advice in the Adventure Athletes group. I don't know if you remember. And Mr. Lee Davis, shout out to Lee, came back and said, look, use the Vogum as Epona 100 simulation. So it's exactly what I did in that race, where I packed my bag as if I was doing the 100, changed my screens on my watch to miles per hour and my battery. So I wanted to see my battery level and how it would drain, and just ran really slow, heavy pack, took my time, practiced things like, nutrition and fluids and stuff like that, and had a really enjoyable slow day in that ultra. It's probably one of the best bits of advice I've ever had from a fellow runner, was to use that race simulation for what I had to endure on the weekend that we've just gone through now. So they've been the 3 races in the lead up so far, race wise. loads of other stuff has happened from a running perspective as well, with something called risky trigs. So
I forgot you wasn't doing that before the last podcast. Yeah.
no, so risky trigs is new.
That's just what I associate you with now, is risky trigs.
It's just a bit of fun, right? It's nothing too serious about it. It's essentially, when you're training for something so serious, so like, I don't make no bones about it, 100-mile race is serious business. It's a big undertaking. It takes so much out of your life. So what I wanted to do this year was to try and make my training a bit more fun. I'm still training, I'm still running, I'm still getting elevation because that's what I need to do. But I wanted to, how can I do something with a bit of a twist? So I remember I was off work one day, and I remember last year I'd driven in Cardiff into the Vale up the A48 from Culverhouse Cross on the way to Cowbridge. And I remember seeing an old trig point. So a trig pillar is those stone features that you see on top of mountains. And I always wonder, like, why is there a trig pillar in the middle of a farmer's field as I was driving past? So on this day off earlier in the year, I set myself a bit of a mission to go and bag the trig, essentially run to the trig, run out, and then on my Strava it's linked to an app called Summit Bag. I know you use Summit Bag, so you know it pretty well, but obviously some people may haven't got a clue what it is. So if you run near a trig point or a summit point, it'll automatically bag it for you and add it to your Strava, and it just makes running a bit more fun. So I'd film myself saying that I'm going to go and bag this trig in a farmer's field. It's an old walking route, but it's been taken by it's farmland essentially, so I technically shouldn't be in there, I don't think. And I went and did it, and it was a really funny thrill. I remember like running in, bagging it, and then legging it out. Just had loads of fun. Got home, obviously I shared what I did, and loads of people were like, oh my god, we need more of this. So I was like, oh, I'm going to investigate. So I went on the Summit Bag app. I'm zooming in now on trig points, like, oh, that looks a bit iffy, that looks a bit dodgy, we'll have a think about that one. So a bit of a background into trig points. I think in the 1930s the Ordnance Survey built like over 6,000 of them in the UK, and essentially what they were there for the building the triangulation of the UK, essentially to help build accurate maps of, you know, how high points were. So they're not just on top of mountains, they were everywhere. Now obviously since the 1930s there's been housing developments, etc. Loads of them have been destroyed. Some of them still exist, some of them don't exist. But one of the great things about risky trigs, actually sometimes you see the summit point and you're like, you don't actually know if there's a trig point there unless you researched it. So part of the fun is there a trig point there?
The one that's standing out to me is Barry Island.
The Barry Island trig point. So obviously,
which you took me and Lee
Yeah.
to, and we was just like, what the fuck is this?
So the Barry Island trig point was the highest point of Barry Island. It's in a street called Earl Crescent. Now obviously I'm a Barry boy, my family are from the island. I live on the island now, so I'm really passionate about everything Barry Island. As corny as it is, I love it, and someone's got to love that place, right? And I love it with all my heart. The trig point is obviously been destroyed back in when that housing development was made, God knows when, probably in like the 60s or 70s. So nothing is actually there, it's just a lane and a lamppost, and I was like the shittest trig point ever. But I make a point now, whenever I go run around the island, I go and bag the trig, because it's just an easy one to bag. Yeah. So there's that one. The riskiest one technically that I've done so far has been Aberthaw Power Station. So I don't know if you've ever run past Aberthaw Power Station. A lot of people who have done like races with Run Rock Crawl on the Coast or the Vogum, they would have run around Aberthaw Power Station. It's quite spooky, and it's you can't get in, like the fences. Anyway, I got in. There's loads of like signs saying CCTV, do not enter. There's barbed wire. But I got in, got up the top of the trig, bagged it. There wasn't anything there. It was just I didn't even know if I'd bagged it until I got home, essentially. But again, that was another thrill one. I've had a few which have not been a thrill. Like you think it's going to be, and then it's just but but I started to make a bit of content around it. Now I'm not, I don't want to be a running influencer or anything like that, but just having a bit of fun with it, I think has made a big difference to the training this year. And it's given me joy just doing it and creating the content on the back end of it. But also other people have got involved. Yourself have got involved. You've had Corey on. So he's bagged some really good ones. Actually, he's bagged ones with some crazy bulls and stuff, haven't he? Yeah. You've done ones where you've nearly got attacked by dogs.
Yeah, got chased by a dog, broken into to farmland like you have. I did that. I don't even know what one it was, but it was the first one I did, and I had to like jump over different fences and stuff.
I still haven't got that one.
Go for a run after this if you want. I'll take you there.
I'm not going for a run today. Well, I'll explain that in a minute and why. But it's been great. Gemma as well. She's been bagging them as well over in Oxfordshire. So it's like, it's only a couple of people that really like get behind it, but it's just given me joy. And I think one thing I've learned since therapy is to kind of, I just do stuff for me now. I don't care what anyone else thinks. It's been quite liberating. Just like, I want to do risky trigs, I'm going to do it. I'm not embarrassed by it. It's just fun. It's just fun for me. And then people have joined me. So I've got my friend Ashley, who I work with. She was down in the office where I work in Oxfordshire. We went out and did a risky trigs together because she really wants to get involved. My friend John, who's I spend most of my time with, to be honest. We were like we call ourselves the Ultra Chuckle Brothers. Shout out to John. We've done a couple of episodes together.
Lee as well.
Yeah,
he's got involved.
Me and Lee, we went and did one. That was quite risky. The one me and Lee did. Because there's no way we should have been. It was a field of crops, and we did our best to stay off the crops. So just putting out there, I'm not here to damage crops or livestock. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here for fun. And bagging trigs is quite fun. So it's been amazing. It's really taken my running to a different level. Not from a physical point of view, because the reality is I'm going really slow in these places, because by the time you're jumping over fences, crawling under bushes and stuff like that, it's not about pace. It's just like, I had loads of fun today. And I think sometimes we take things so serious in sport, and and rightfully so, like these things, they're not to be brushed under the carpet as easy things. What we do in this kind of world is it's hard. It's fucking really tough. So to lighten things up a lot, I think, makes things a lot more fun and enjoyable. It actually makes you want to go out and do it as well, I think, which is, and that's one of the hardest things to do, is just get out the door.
Yeah, I've definitely used it as motivation. When I started getting back into running after my 496, didn't want to do a thing. I couldn't think of anything worse. And then I was like, but there's some trigs around here that I haven't bagged yet. And mine isn't even necessarily the risky ones. Mine's just sheer number of trigs that I want to bag.
Yeah.
Which I felt like I was catching up with you to a point. And now after seeing like all of your Epona stuff, I'm like, oh no, I'm way behind. I need to step it up a bit.
Comparison is a thief of joy. Don't worry what I'm doing. Likewise, there's people out there that bag trigs for fun. There's a lad I've made friends with through the Epona process called Dale. His Instagram account is like Trig Bagging Herefordshire. Guy bags trigs for fun. Izzy Watts, who also did Epona. Shout out to both of them. They're trig legends compared to me. Well, I'm just stupid. I'm just a silly bastard. So yeah, it's great. It just adds to the fun.
Yeah. Just since the last episode, I've just seen a massive change in you as a person and how you're approaching things. Like, you're obviously still the same person. You're the same Mike that I've known. But from our first meeting where we ran 31 kilometers together, and the stuff we were talking about then, and it was almost quite dark, like for most of it, and just being like, wow, like we got a lot going on in our head that we need to sort through, to now seeing you doing your 100-miler and like how upbeat you were through everything, and how just the topics of conversation have changed from this is all the things that's happened to me and I'm going through and this and that, to now just being like, I'm loving life. Like, I'm out here, I'm inspiring people to go out and do stuff. It's just an incredible change to see.
Oh, it's quite nice to hear that because I feel it as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't a down person back then, but I had some, we've all got demons, haven't we? And I had things in my head that I needed answering, and I was going through some stuff in my personal life. Fast forward to now, I feel like I've had a lot of things answered. No one answered them for me. The answer was always in here.
Yeah.
So they were always within. I think they were always within all of us, and and I'm back with my partner Fionn, it's been amazing, and she's been incredible, and been really supportive around like my challenges, because this I can't even explain, but I can. It takes so much sacrifice. I've got 2 kids. I've got a partner. She's got 2 kids. I've got a really busy job, and I work away. My office is 150 miles away. Granted, I get to work from home, but I travel a lot. I was in Dublin a couple of weeks ago. Really, really grateful for my life, and getting to travel work is cool. But the amount of sacrifice I've had to put in to train for the 100-miler, it's like nothing I've ever had to do before, because all I have thought about for the last 10 months is that 100-miler. It's like 90% of my thoughts was the race. It was, the slam is the slam, but those first 3 races were all prep for what happens on the weekend. So, people do want to do a 100-miler. You got to be prepared to sacrifice so much of your time. I stopped drinking. I'm so glad I've stopped drinking. It's been one of the really, I haven't drank since December. Because I didn't want to. Because I was like, no, I want to be in the mountains tomorrow, so I'm not going out. Do you know what I mean? I've probably sacrificed friendships a little bit as well. Not seeing people I would have seen before. But my life is elevated for that as well. I feel like I've got different people around me, and my life's better for it. I feel like I found my tribe. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Found my tribe. The amount of people I've met since I've started this process has been phenomenal. I actually counted. This is really geeky of me. Went through my Strava, not including races, which obviously you run with loads of different people in races. Just from training and recce's that I've got involved with and running, I've ran with 43 different people this year, individual. You're in that list, for example. So I feel like all 43 of those people have been a part of my unique journey, and it's been amazing, like, just to meet so many people and get to run and listen to their stories. I love listening to people's life stories, and you get to learn so much on the trail. It's not about the destination, and it's not about getting to the end of your run. It's about being on the trail and what happens, and it's just added so much to my life, and that's one of the reasons why I've been so happy, because I've just got good people around me, people who are pushing themselves, and they're like-minded. Yourself, for example, we've become really good friends since we met in Butte Park. Like, to have people who understand why you do what you do. No offense to other people, but when I've told people I'm doing a 100-mile race, they're like, "Oh, you're crazy." And I'm like, I actually don't think I'm that crazy. This is just what makes me tick. I'm not actually crazy. It's just, this is what I need. Obviously, from outside looking in, doing 100 miles might seem crazy, but actually, if you split it down into parts, it's all right. Don't get me wrong, it's hard, but it's achievable. I'm just a guy with a dad bod with a full-time job and 2 kids. Like, if I can do it, like, anyone can. You have got to dedicate a little bit, but actually you don't need to be like the best runner in the world. I'm not the best runner. You've got to be a really good walker to do 100 miles. I've come to learn that. Takes a lot of power hike training, essentially. So yeah, I think I'm one long-winded answer there.
I feel like I've been thinking about this a lot recently, but I feel like from doing this podcast, like before, I felt like you were saying, like, I didn't have those people around me that understood what I was doing, like, at all. There was just so many times where I would just do things because I wanted to do them, and then when people would see that I'm posting about it, not for attention, just because I used to use Instagram as just a log of my life, and I was like, oh, I like looking back at that. And people would see it and just be like, what the fuck are you doing? That's so stupid. Like, seriously, like, just calm down, focus on work, and maybe get a family. And I was just like, oh, I just don't want to. Like, I'm loving what I'm doing, and it made me feel bad for enjoying that stuff because people wouldn't get it. And I feel like from doing this podcast, I've created like a bit of an echo chamber, which is like usually quite negative. Like, you're just stuck in your own thoughts and everyone around you is just mirroring what you're doing. But I found it so positive because now I look around and my challenges don't seem crazy and out there anymore. They just seem like, this is what we enjoy doing. This is part of my life. And I never get anything negative said about it anymore. And I kind of forget that it's not like common. I was going to say not normal because I do feel like challenging yourself is normal, but it's not common to see people doing these things. And the way I came about that was I just assumed that most people have thought about doing a marathon these days, and I'm like, yeah, everyone's doing marathons these days. When you look at the actual number of how many people are doing marathons, it's like less than 1% of the population. And I was like, oh, that's actually not that many people running marathons. But I'm assuming marathons are pretty common and then ultras are pretty common because I'm surrounded by people like you that are doing 7 in 6 months. And it's become normal for me. And I absolutely love that it has.
Yeah, I think, but what you do is extraordinary in a sense because, you know, if you talk about like a road marathon, they say around 1% of people do a road marathon. So they call it the 1% club. So that means 99% of people are not doing that. So actually, it is quite extraordinary to even do a marathon. And then when you move into the ultras, then it's even less. And I was trying to look at stats for 100 milers, and I think what I found, it was really hard to find statistics online for this officially, but the closest thing I found was in 2022, 10,000 people worldwide did a 100-mile race. It's just like, it's fuck all, really. So it's nice to be in, from an internal feeling, it's nice to be a part of a very exclusive set of people that have been through what I went through on the weekend.
Yeah.
Because I can't fucking describe it. It's like, it's something that has to be experienced and not be described.
Yeah.
You can only feel it. You can't be told what it's like, because of the range of emotions. And the other thing you got to remember, I think, as well, and you alluded to it, you're just surrounded by people in that community. So your whole life is engulfed by people doing these challenges. So you might feel like that everyone's like that, but it's not. The reality is that group of people that you've kind of helped bring together in Adventure Athletes are the extraordinary people. But they're extraordinary in the challenges they take on. They're just normal people, though. That's the thing I've learned the most, is they're just normal people. They put their pants on the same way as everyone else in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So everyone could go and do it. It's just a case of they're the people that, they're the doers, you know. Yeah. And there's generally not many doers around. There's a lot of talkers. There's there's doers, and then there's people that do both. I'm one of them that I like to talk about what I'm going to do. I am a bit of an attention seeker. I think that's down to my childhood and feeling like I probably didn't get much attention, and I kind of crave it now. So I do like putting stuff out there. But one of the main reasons I do it is for accountability. Like, if I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do, I'm one of these and needs to go and do it to save face, because I won't bear to fail, because I've told so many people. Now, this is why Epona 100 was really dangerous on the weekend for me mentally, because if I DNF'd on the weekend, I reckon I would have been in a really bad place, because I told so many people about it. I'd been given the big one for months. I put the training in, and Fionn said to me, "Can you imagine if you didn't do it?" And I was like, "No, I can't imagine. I think I'd be in a really bad place. But that drove me on. And my will to succeed far outweighed the negative in me that wanted to quit on many occasions, because there was a few times where I could have pulled the plug where it got very spicy in places.
Yeah, it's a hard one to balance because you want that motivation, but it's what's the cost? Like you're saying, there's that feeling of failure that's looming over you, and that's not always the best motivator. Like, it can get you far, and it will get you to do things that you wouldn't have otherwise done, but then if it doesn't work, then what? What's next?
That's the thing. That didn't affect me in a sense, because since finishing the race, I feel this massive sense of fulfillment, which I've been searching for what feels like forever. You know, searching for a community I feel a part of took me like 30 odd years. You know, I played football for 20 odd years and loved it. I love football. It's my favourite sport, right? I'm still a massive football fan now. If I could play now, I probably could play. But I prefer the long distance running, and playing football as well as doing that. It's just too much risk to injury, twisting and turning, short bursts in football, and it'll end up affect my running career. And I don't want to. That means more to me than playing in the team sport, to be honest. So yeah, things like football, I never truly felt a part of all the teams I played for. That was probably more on me than it was on any of my teammates and friends. It's just I never felt it. Just never felt it. I always felt a bit of an outcast. You know, like things like lad banter just doesn't fucking touch my head in. Like, it's just childish to me. I still fucking think, I know people out there now, they're like 40 odds and they still act like you now, and you're just like, fucking grow up, man. Grow up. Like, you know, we're all there for a laugh and a joke, but then there's a fine line, and I just never got on with the whole lad culture. You know, don't get me wrong, I could fucking fake it till I make it kind of thing and get involved and kind of be a lad when I wanted to, but it's not truly me. So to find a community now, within like the Pegasus community, the ultra running community, adventure athletes, I don't feel like an imposter of life. I feel like I belong somewhere and I'm respected, and that's all I ever wanted in life, is just to feel that internal respect for myself and that I finally got somewhere where I belong. Yeah.
With this journey you've been through then, so we've spoken, like, even since last time we spoke, you was halfway through the journey then, and now it feels like it's come to a bit of a conclusion. I know you've still got 3 races to go.
I've actually got 4 races left.
4? I
booked onto another race the other day. We'll get to that in a minute.
This is news to me. So you got 4 races left, but you've come to that conclusion. You're content in yourself. Like I was saying with the call to adventure, like, there's always that call to adventure, and that's the start of the story, or the story arc. And I feel like you've reached the end of that arc now. Like, when I met you, you was halfway through. It's that hard era where it's like, in the films, everything's going wrong. Like, they've started making progress. They're like, yeah, this is going well. And then I feel like I met you at the point where everything's sort of going a bit wrong. And then you broke your hand and everything, and you was questioning your ability to finish at points. And then to see it come out to this with all the stuff you've got in front of you.
Before I bring some mementos today.
It's just, I feel like you're at the end of the arc. But do you feel like Epona was the thing that journey is what's almost taken you through that change in life? Or do you feel like you would have come across to that without Epona anyway?
I don't think I would be this person without Epona. The person I've become has been more important than it. No, more important. The process of Epona and going through it has helped me become who I am right in this moment that I sit here now. Without Epona and that looming itch I needed to scratch for the last 7 years around this 100-mile thing in my head, I wouldn't have this feeling of content and fulfillment that I do right now. I know what you're saying is what's next. That's essentially what you're about to say, isn't it? You know, you've come to the end of the arc. I'm about 90% because I've still got the slam to do. The reality is I don't really know what will be next because I haven't truly reflected. I only got home today. I haven't been home in my own house for a few days. So I haven't had time to reflect. Something will call me. There will be something. I don't know what it is. I know I want to give back. I think I've got to a place now where I've got so much. I've earned the experience to be able to share experience. I've always been reluctant to like give people advice on running, because someone said to me, "Oh, I've got any advice?" And I was like, "Fucking hell, go out and run and learn yourself." That's always my advice. Like, I don't want to coach people in the sense that, right, you need to do this, this, and this. I always think, go out and learn yourself. I think you know, you could be your best coach sometimes, just going to learn and make mistakes. I've made loads of mistakes and learned from them. So giving back, I think, is going to be a big thing for me somehow. I know we spoke previously about potentially having a podcast. I just don't know about that now. I think so much has changed. And that's not me going back on myself. It's just genuinely how I feel. I started not a running club, because that's just hard work, and I can't commit to like set days and stuff. But what I did start doing some like small club runs, risky trail runs, and I think I did 3 of them, and loads of people turned up. It was so much fun. They were like 5-mile trail runs in Dinas. My son came along, which was amazing. So I think, yeah, giving back with maybe helping people on the trails, helping them achieve something small or big if that's what they want. And what's the most important thing for me is the kids. So like my son fucking loves trail running already, and you know what? I've not pushed him into it. He really just likes doing it, and he's really good. This is a funny story. So I'm training for, I think it was post Canham. Anyway, took the kids out, and we were going for a walk up Cumcarn Forest Drive, and then we were going up Tumbalum, which is a mountain just outside of Newport. And my son ran the whole thing, and I tried running with him, and I couldn't. He was up top, I was only halfway up. Genuinely now, I was like, I can't do it.
It's steep as well.
Yeah, so I think my son's got something in him that I never had. So we'll have to see if we can kind of bring something out of him, but I don't want to force it, and he needs to find it himself. You know, I'm very much someone I'm not a pushy dad. I want my kids to do what they want in life. And I think, yeah. So back to the ARC thing, giving back is going to be a big thing for me. I feel I've earned the right. I can give back now, from a place of experience and know-how, and not an imposter. I actually don't feel an imposter today. Okay. Which is an amazing feeling, because we all feel like imposters in these sports.
Yeah.
After the weekend, I've literally was like, I confidently say now, like, I'm experienced. I've earned it. It's taken me years, but I've got there.
Yeah. Something I'm amazed with, this is again something I've had a lot of time to think doing my tyre flip sessions. Something else I've been thinking about then is how quickly your body can adapt to be able to do something like you're doing, and even what I'm doing just in my training. Because I look back at my tyre flips, when I started training, I was going to keep a note on my phone, just a little note thing of how many tyre flips I did and when. And I scrapped that, and I just track it on Instagram now. So on my posts, I'll just be like, this is how many my total is. Don't care about the date. I just want to know the total. And I remember my first session, I did 16 tyre flips. That was my whole session, 16. And then, like, within that month, I was doing, like, no more than 200 a session. And I remember looking back at that now, being like, that was rough. Like, doing 200 tyre flips. Oh my god, like, this is insane. My back is killing me. And then last week I did 2,500. And I was just like, that was one day out of my week of training. I think I did like 4,000 in total last week. I've already done over 2,000 this week. I've got 3 more tyre flip sessions to go this week. And I'm just like, how has my body changed that quick from being able to struggle doing 16 to now doing 2,500? And I see the same with you. Like, you've never run near 100 miles before, and all of a sudden it's just like bang, 100 done.
Yes, I put it a lot down to the mind, especially when you get close to events as well. It's like your mind knows that you need to do it. I think that, the furthest I'd done previously was 50 miles in just over 10 hours on a course probably now is fuck all elevation compared to what I used to doing. A lot of it is like preparing your body in a way which doesn't mimic it, because you can't train for 100 miles. You can't like go, I'm going to just work my way up to 90 and go and do a 90-mile training run. It doesn't work like that. It might work like that at a marathon distance or 50k, but when you do like 50-mile races, or now I've learned a 100-mile race, it's not about the mileage as such. It's about mimicking what the race may be like in certain bits. So the main thing that I concentrated on this year wasn't mileage. It's important. Obviously, you still got to get your mileage in, right? I'm not saying that's not important. For me, it was, right, there's going to be a large chunk of this race where I'm going to be death marching. Death marching is when you're tired, your body's broken, and you're just trying to walk as fast as possible. Yeah. So what did I do in training? Loads of power hike, death marching, up and down hills. I'm not fortunate enough to live right next to a mountain. Being down the island is challenging from a training perspective. But what it did do, it forced me, one, to go and drive up to the Black Mountains on the weekend and actually train and do the recce's of the route, which really helped and get that elevation. But also adapt. So I found a hill in Barry. I say I found a hill. I've been going up this and down this hill for years, but people in Barry call it Teletubby Hill. It's from the Nap up to Marine Drive. Now, from the base to the top, it's about 140 feet. But one part of it, there's like a bollard. And up the steepest part and down, it's like 80 feet. And what I was trying to do is trying to get as much elevation in as little as mileage as possible. So I think like a couple of weeks ago, I just wanted to do an hour. So I just timed myself an hour. I did 38 hill reps, up and down. Just death marching. Some of them I ran, but then a lot of them I just walked, because you don't actually gain much time from running up hills. And actually it's really important just to save your legs for later on in races anyway. I 100% put down my success in the 100 to just elevation, slow walk elevation, just becoming a good walker. 100-mile distance, don't get me wrong, if you're competing at the front end, then being a great runner really helps, obviously. But most of us are not great elite runners. Most of us are middle of the pack, back of the pack. So to complete the distance, which was my aim, was all around just that slow elevation in the training. So I don't know how you've adapted your body to doing the tire flips, but do you think it might be a bit in your head as well around, well, I know it's coming up to August now, so am I doing more because my body's like, you need to do it? But you are getting stronger because you're doing the reps and it makes so much difference.
It's a funny style of training, because with most exercises you've got the two parts of the lift. You've got the concentric. So say I'm doing a bicep curl, it's lifting from the bottom up to the top of the rep, which is the motion, and then you've got the eccentric, which is the lowering down controlled, and the lowering part is what causes the muscle damage essentially, for it to rebuild and grow. But with the tire flip, there's no eccentric phase. It's just I pick it up, I throw it, and then it's done.
Yeah.
So there's no real muscle building in what I'm doing, which is quite strange, because it's like the amount of time I'm training and I'm not building any muscle is quite an odd sort of thing. Obviously you're building a bit because there's still stress, but like nowhere near as much if I just did a bodybuilding session. So I think it's just getting used to the discomfort of, because at first I would do, well, not even at first, a few months in I'd get 100 to 150 tire flips in, my lower back would be in pieces, and that's when I used to stop. And then it got to the point where I was like, I'm going to keep going, and I realised that once I hit that point of discomfort, it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better, but it's not getting worse. So then I'm like, I can keep going, I just have to suffer. But now I realised I realised this when I did the 2,500. I did 450 before it started hurting to that same extreme, and then I was like, okay, so something's happening. And then after I did, how many was it? I think I got like 2,000 in, and then my back felt fine again. And I was just like, this is really weird. I haven't stopped, I haven't slowed down, I haven't had a break. I've just been flipping a tyre for 4 hours. 3 hours in, say, my back's just like, yeah, we're fine now. Just keep going. It's really odd.
The human body is the most incredible machine on the planet, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how it regenerates stuff, but repairs itself. And again, it's the similar sort of thing with the long distance running. I've never done a 50-mile race. I've never done more than a 50-mile race before, and then somehow I've done 100 miles, and and it was 38 hours. It was 28 hours moving time. I think I've spent 10 hours stagnant either at checkpoints, which were great investments. Looking after yourself. But to go for that time on feet with no sleep and severe sleep deprivation, dehydration, after I'd only ever done 11 hours before, it just proves that you can do it. You can do it. You don't have to be this mega fit person when you think you need to be. You can achieve it. I saw people do that race on the weekend. On the surface, when you just look at them, they just look don't look like athletes, Yeah. And they're achieving the most sensational thing in their personal life, and yeah, I get frustrated because I got friends out there that won't go and do. They want to. It's not that they don't want to do it because they don't enjoy it. They say to me, "I'd love to be able to do it." I'm like, "Go and do it then." Like you can do it. You can do it. And you can do it with quite little training. Some of these ultras, don't get me wrong, the 100's a bit different. It's, yeah, I think one of the things I learned a lot actually from the weekend, and I think it's quite important to kind of call it out, is all the other races I've ever done, you do the work in the training. So on the day, don't get me wrong, it's a bit uncomfortable doing a 50 miler and 50Ks and stuff like that. But you've done the work in the training. So you just putting together what you've done in the training. Now the 100-mile race, it's a million times worse. It doesn't matter how much you prepared. The actual day is just pure suffering. It's not like all the work has come together. You've still got a long way to go, and it's like being in the pits of hell sometimes. That's all I can describe it as. But in a good way, because obviously it kind of proves to yourself that you can do really hard things.
Yeah. Talk us through the 100, because we haven't actually really spoken about it yet.
No, we haven't, have we? That's a problem when you get me on these things. We could be here a while because I like to talk. Textbook training in terms of really happy, probably going into the race in really good shape. Done all the elevation that I wanted. Had a fucking massive curveball last week. Tested positive for COVID. So I'm not someone that would just go and test, but I was really ill. I was having hallucinations, high fever, temperature while I was away with work. My heart rate was 120, just sat there. And I was like days before the race. So I was like, oh, fuck. The timing was, I didn't deserve it. I put so much into this. I didn't deserve what happened to me last week. But I didn't let it stop me or get me down. I actually just went, well, you're fucking doing it because you've put too much. I used the phrase, I didn't come this far just to come this far. And it was true. There was no way I was deferring to next year. I put so much into it. So I had a massive curveball thrown at me, and I tested negative on the day of registration. So I made sure I told Reese, because I was like, I don't want people to think I'm going to be there and I'm testing positive, and they're about to do the biggest thing that they've ever done, and I don't want people to avoid me. So I was like, showing people, this is my negative test, so you're not going to catch COVID from me. And yeah, so COVID, people got their own ideas of COVID. I was really ill. It was like I had a really bad flu. Like I've had it before and not really felt it, but I felt it. So at the start of the race, I kind of had to adjust the way I was going to approach the first the first climb. So a little bit of background into the stats of the race, because if people don't know the Epona, it's important to know before I explain the story. It's 100 miles. It's actually 105, because that's what I did. All right. Over 17,000 feet of climbing, which in other people's language is 5,500 meters. 23 mountain summits that you hit. It's no joke, right? It starts with the Abergavenny Three Peaks, which is Sugarloaf Mountain, Skirrid Fawr, and the Blorange. Now, Sugarloaf's a beast in itself. You know, a lot of people just go and climb Sugarloaf, and that's an achievement. It's a bit like doing Pen y Fan, innit? You know, go up there, get your photo. You know, we just start from the cricket club in Abergavenny, and you're straight up Sugarloaf. Down Sugarloaf the other side, towards the east. And then you're going up the Skirrid, the back end. Now, I don't know if you've ever done the Skirrid. No. The back end of the Skirrid is hands and knees job. Pretty much scrambling up if you haven't got poles. A few people in the race cried going up there because of the heights. If you were to go if you were to go in reverse and go down there, I would say it's pretty dangerous. It's that type of mountain.
Funny you talk about going in reverse.
Yeah, because they've reversed it for next year apparently, but I ain't doing it. Then you drop back down into Abergavenny, checkpoint 1, and then you going up the Blorange, which is a beast in itself. So I had issues with my tracker. So when the race started, typical luck, my tracker said I was in Shrewsbury. So everyone's like on the little tracker in their dots. I had friends like, have you started the race? Because you know, they knew I had COVID. They were worried that I just not started the race, but I was moving all right, struggling with my heart rate quite early on because my chest was full, so I kind of adjusted my pace. I was running like 4 miles. I was running in miles per hour because it's just the way I wanted to approach the race, which is not what I'd normally do, but it was a godsend. So pulled it down to like 3.7 miles an hour. Got through checkpoint 1 up the Blorange. And I tagged onto this guy called Steve after spending the first loop of Abergavenny with my friend Sean. So shout out to Sean. We always seem to spend a lot of time together in recce's and races. And then me and Steve, essentially, long story, like fast forward, we finished the race together pretty much. So from like mile 6 to mile 103, me and Steve became my best friend for 2 days. I learned everything about him. I didn't know he was bald until mile 89 because he had a hat on for the whole. I was, oh my god, I didn't realise you were bald. Felt really good actually. Was taking my time. There was people running past me, but I didn't have any ego. Like, well, I'm gonna go. I was like, no, this is my race. I've come too far to fucking blow it. Really, really tough climbs. The first 3, we'd already done 5,500 feet. You know, by mile 19. You know, and you still got 80 odd left to go. Got to checkpoint 2. It was really fucking sensible. I had to sit down for 45 minutes, sorted my feet out, had a little hot spot on my little toe, so I dressed that up. I had a toasty, had some proper food, had a cup of tea. Who knew a cup of tea in a fucking ultra, it like really hits the spot. Popped my watch on charge, because what I did throughout the race is keep my watch topped up, battery. It takes away the anxiety around your battery life, and you think, oh, am I going to get to the end? Topping it up always meant like that anxiety had gone. Yeah. My tracker had been reset, so I was finally on the course. People could follow me, which was good. Had a bit of a kit change, changed my top, put a bucket hat on, which, do you know what, made so much difference because it was so hot. So having a bucket hat which kind of blocked the sun from your front and your back, just little bits of things that make you a little bit more comfortable because you obviously going through a big feat. Another massive climb out of Clydach up to the Lonely Shepherd. If you've never been to the Lonely Shepherd before, it's an amazing monument. It's really worth visiting. And then we traversed then some mad like the top of these hills, which there was loads of caves. It was really interesting. Fionn met me in a lay-by on course and gave me McDonald's. So I had like McDonald's Coke and a wrap. So I like shoved that down my neck, got going again. So a red Cadillac, right? This is a really weird story. So a red Cadillac come past me, a proper American like right-hand drive, some old geezer in there, really wide front, like you'd never see these cars, so it like caught my eye. And then there was like something in the back of the car, which is weird. Caught up with two of the people I was running with a bit earlier, and they were like, "Did you see that dead body?" And I was like, "What?" They saw, well, it's what they said they saw, was an old lady, all grey and white, slumped against the window in the back of the Cadillac. So they seemed to think that the old boy was taking his wife to the hospital or the undertakers or something like that. So that was interesting, just like something like that happening. Typical happens, like something like that happening to me, because I always seem to find these funny little stories. A really good pace, you know, really, really consistent. Got down to the checkpoint and I saw you, which was great. Obviously, seen people you know, and then you gave me a proper rub down, so thank you for that. Like, I think I was on mile 37 at the time, and my quads were like just sore from the descents that we'd done so far in the race. Got a nice rub down from you. Had cheesy mash from Kevin. So Kevin, if people know Kevin Madden, listen, they'll know he's the greatest volunteer ever. He knows how to look after an ultra runner. So he gave me a massive hug. Right, do you want cheesy mash with extra salt? I was like, yes. That hit the spot. What I've learned from this process is you cannot be proper hot food. Gels, I think I took 6 gels the whole race. I think I'm going to stop taking gels. It's taught me just to have some proper food on me rather than having kind of gels, because I've got really sore lips like today. They're all cracked and stuff, and I heard that was going to happen, and it has happened. A lot of it's down to all like the gels you have, all the sugar, and I don't know the science behind it, but Kevin was a legend. Got me going again. Saw my friend Kasha just before that checkpoint, so she like stayed with us for half a mile because she was walking back to her car. She ended up doing 44 miles in 2 days, just going to see people, because she's brilliant. She's just there for the community, and the community is built on great people like Kasha. So, you know, shout out to her. Really, really tough session then, to be honest, until we got to the checkpoint at Talabont. My feet weren't in the best place. My little toe had developed a blood blister. Have you ever had a blood blister? Yeah. So I popped it, cleaned it, dressed it, and then it was a climb up and down Torafall from Talabont. Now Torafall, pound for pound, was the most climbing we were going to do in the whole race. Per mile, in that mile I did over 1,000 feet of climbing just in a mile distance. It's a triangle like shaped mountain. You're just up and then down the other side. So got up and over there, then it kind of started getting dark then, and it started getting a bit tired. Death marched down the canal. We had a 6-mile stretch on a flat canal, the same canal I'd done the Canam on, so a bit of PTSD from that. And then got to the checkpoint 5, which was essentially the halfway point. It was dark by then. Fiona had come back, brought me a McDonald's again for the second time. Claire and Bernie at the checkpoint were amazing. They made me like a bacon sandwich because Fiona was late because she was queuing at McDonald's. I was like, you had one job, just be at the checkpoint. She was late, but she made up for it with her support. Got dressed for the night, put some leggings on because I heard it was cold up in the mountains, and then it was the night session then. And the night session was where the race really started for me. Me and Steve, we said that's the time we were going to put music in. I was going to nav, and he was just going to follow me. So we got up out of Quick Owl, got onto the trail, both looked at each other like, that's it, headphones in, play. And I must have had about 20 minutes where I probably felt the greatest I've ever felt in my life. I was going up Table Mountain, up to Pencerrig Calch, and I'd asked people a few days earlier to give me some song suggestions, and I called it like the Pain Cave, because obviously that's what you do in your aid station in Pain Cave, like very American. And this trance track came on by Binary Finery, 1998 it's called. It's an old classic trance track. I listened to trance for years, but I used to love it. And it was so wavy, right? And I'm like marching up the hill. We were going at a good pace, and it's like really wavy trance, and it was just such an amazing moment. Like, I'll never forget that moment. Got up and over table, songs were coming, and there was some really good. I had like Spice Girls Wannabe, like And then the one that stuck out the most was Venga Boys, We Like to Party. Oh my God. I came on, I was just like loving life. And we had one of the worst climbs we had the whole race. But because I had this music on, and because I'd not had music on before, and I weren't going to have music on after the night session, I knew that session was like key, just in try and enjoy the little moments. So we had Venga Boys come on. We had, what was that one song? I think Kath gave me a suggestion. I can't think of what it is. It's like a really funny theme tune. That made me laugh. But then I had like Under the Sea. Someone said, the Under the Sea from Little Mermaid. Yeah. That pissed me off. So like, I went to a dark place saying, this song's pissed me off. So I turned it off. And then I was in a bad mood then. Sun started coming up around 4:30. Started getting light. And your circadian rhythm starts kicking in then. So you have a bit of a lift. And we were coming into like checkpoint 6. About 4:00 in the morning, Steve I was with, he wasn't being sick, but he was like he looked faint, he looked white. And he just said to me, look, go ahead, I'll see you at the checkpoint. So I managed to get some pace on and run down to the checkpoint. I thought I was around the corner, but I was still like 2 hours away. That's the thing with these 100-mile races. You think you're close, but you're still hours away from a checkpoint. Got into the checkpoint. Else made me a pizza. So I had pizza for breakfast on Sunday morning, which was lovely. I checked my feet because the drop bag was there. Did a bit of feet admin. Had a cup of tea from Catherine. Took my leggings off. Saw my friends Reese Morgan and Paul Davis because I got there not long before they were going to leave. Steve had come waddling into the checkpoint looking a bit unsteady on his feet. He'd rang his missus and to DNF. He was like, I'm done. But we managed to say to him, look, you ain't fucking done, mate. Have some food, bring yourself back around. At that moment, I could have left with Reese and Paul, but I chose to stay for a bit, see if Steve was all right, and give myself a bit more time. So Steve was like, look, go. I said, you ain't DNFing. Get yourself back in good shape and come back out. I'll see you in a bit. So I'm on my own now, marching up a mountain past the res at Gwynfawr, on my way up to towards like Gospel Pass. I think it's called Rosterion. A summit called Lord Hereford's Knob, or the Tumpa is actually called Lord Hereford's Knob. So I'm there, trying to get some pace on the go. I think I was doing about 3 miles an hour at that point, which was quite good. And also I hear footsteps behind me, and it's fucking Steve. So Steve's managed to catch me. And then we stuck together then. So I had my feet sorted on the next checkpoint by Kevin and Paul and Laurie. They were really good. I think that was at mile 80. Taped my feet up because I was on the hot spot on the bottom of it. It weren't a blister, but it would have developed into something pretty bad. And if it's on the bottom of your foot, that's it. It's just be fucking horrific. And then that's when I made my biggest fuck up of the race. So at mile 80 in the checkpoint, I felt fine. And I didn't eat. I forgot to eat. And I didn't really drink. And I only filled up 2 500 mils of water. Forgot to give my tailwind. And then we had I think it was 11-mile stretch to the final checkpoint. Now what I normally do is like 11 miles to me during an ultra would be about 3 hours. So I'm like, okay, 3 hours I can deal with a litre of water, maybe an extra bottle. But it weren't 3 hours because we were going so slow. It was like 5.5 hours. I was on top of Offa's Dyke, severely dehydrated in a bad way, really far away from the checkpoint, fucking thinking about my life choices. And I got emotional at one point, but it was just like internally emotional. Do you know when you almost cry? And I was like, I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna fucking collapse. I felt really faint. Saw Kasia again. She just popped up on top of Offa's Dyke. It was like a mirage. It was like I was in the desert and then it was a lake. It's just this little blonde lady in the distance. And I'm in a bad way now. And she loves taking photos. And she's like, woohoo! And she's there with her camera. And I'm like, no photos. She had a sandwich on her. I think she saved my life. So thank you. She gave me a sandwich. And I think that kept me going. Just having some calories in me. And getting to that last checkpoint was one of the hardest. It was the hardest 11, 12 mile stint of my life. Me and Steve both said we were both silent for pretty much the whole of the office dyke. And it was a few times where I thought we both wouldn't have made it. I think we both would have just died together on top of it. I think your body goes into some weird shit when you're like, not, nearly 90 miles in. And it was like 23 degrees, no cloud. I had no sun cream on. My bucket hat was in my drop bag, so I picked a different hat. I think I had this hat on. So that got a bit close. That was my own fault. That was where I was like, fucking, what an idiot. And I started blaming myself. I got to the checkpoint and I really struggled to get down to the checkpoint. And my friends were there, Karen and Sarah, and then my pacer, Harriet. And I was like, fluids, I need fluids now. And I just slumped into the chair and I just had a drink. And it was like the best drink I've ever had in my life. And then I had a crisp sandwich. So shout out to fucking Walkers. Because I had a ready salty crisp sandwich with no butter. Now, it was the driest fucking sandwich I've ever had. But it was obviously key. I needed something in me. And I took my time at that checkpoint. So did Steve. He was going to close his eyes for a bit. I was just chatting. I was trying to stay light-hearted, and I was trying to make jokes and stuff because I knew I needed to do that. But inside, I was dying. And then Sarah, she picked me out of the chair. I couldn't move. And I just got going again. And we just had some of the hardest climbs to finish the race. And that last 10 miles, I'm not joking, I felt great. I don't know what, that crisp sandwich just really, really brought me back to life. And the fact I knew it was the last leg. So it was 10 miles to go. Still took 5.5 hours, mind. Still 5.5 hours left. My friend Harriet, who kindly said she'd come and pace for the end of the race. If Harriet weren't there, that would have been a slog. But the fact that she was there and she was just chatting, just her normal self, was lovely. And we got to chat about all sorts of stuff. And we got there. I think we got to mile 100 at the base of Sugarloaf. Obviously, you had some VAT, so I had to do some extra mileage at the end. And then the final climb up Sugarloaf was one of the greatest moments of my life. Just climbing up Sugarloaf, knowing that it was the final climb, and when I got to the top, it's just downhill to the finish. And she interviewed me, so I posted that actually. Interviewed me at mile 102, just some raw interview, how I was feeling, and actually when I watch back, I think I'm in pretty good spirits. On the way down, then found some legs and was able to run to the finish right at the end. Gave her my poles with a few hundred meters to go. She ran on to the finish, got my Welsh flag out, coming to the cricket ground, wrapped it around my shoulder, and probably what can only be described as the greatest moment of my life. Coming into the funnel, into the finish, slumping forward, looking at Reese looking at me with a little grin, and I just couldn't believe what I'd just done. And then you get the famous Mike Jenkins hug. Gave me my medal, and gave me my buckle. I just looked at my buckle like a kid, it's like a kid opened a PS5 at Christmas. I was like, Fionn come in, hugged me, and I fucking broke down then, just broke down in tears because I put so much into it. It all came out at the end. And yeah, that's essentially the race. I was probably gone on there. I think I summarised that pretty quick. There's a lot more that's happened, but generally that is the top line view of the 100-mile race.
Yeah. I still can't even get my head around the distance you covered. Like you sent, or you posted is it Relive thing? Where you track your runs? And
I did that. So Strava's got a feature and premium where they do a flyover video. So I just screen recorded the flyover, and I have to times it by 10 on the speed, because if you do a flyover on a 5k, it only takes you'd have been there for 12 minutes, I think, going around the whole thing. So I times it by 10 and just screen recorded it and shared it, because actually it's quite funny. It's quite good to watch it back, as it makes you realise just what you've accomplished and what you did, and how and then I obviously overlaid it with Venga Boy's tune, because that's just the song that sticks out from the race, and I like linking stuff like that. I like that song is what made that race for me, and I've not stopped singing that fucking song. It's not even, obviously it's just a stupid song. It's not though. It's genuine. I think it's good. It is a good song. I'll put it out there. Fair play, Venga Boys. It was an absolute banger that you released in the 90s. But yeah, it's quite difficult to fathom and get your head around the distance. It's not the same as doing 4 marathons. It's not the same as doing 2 50-milers. When we saw someone on the canal and they were like, oh, you're halfway, and you're just like, you're not though. That race truly starts like mile 80 for me. That's when it really started, because I got to mile 80 and I didn't really many troubles, like physically all right, but from that fuck up with the fluids, that's when it really started for me. And then those last 20 odd miles were just, it wasn't 20 odd miles, it felt like I'd done another 50, to be honest, because of the time on feet. But yeah, it is difficult to fathom, but again, it's doable. Anyone can go and do it. You just got to go and do it.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense how you can. And I never used to think that, because I used to watch like Barkley Marathon documentary on Netflix and stuff, and I was like, yeah, like that's so doable. Like I'd do that. Obviously not the Barkley. I wasn't thinking, yeah, I'd be able to go and do the Barkley, but I was like, yeah, these ultra marathons, like one day easy 100-mile, and the more I look at it and realise what's involved, and seeing you do it and some of my other mates do it, I'm like, that is way harder than I thought. But like you're saying, it's still achievable. I'm not like, well, I'll never be able to do that. I'm just like, that is way harder than I thought it would be.
It's not just the it's not just running 100 mile, running / power hiking 100 miles. It's so much more than that. It's so much that goes into it, that the prep, like my drop bag, I had about 15 Ziploc bags labelled with different things, fuel. It's really expensive as well, just all the training and all the shoes you go through, all the kit you need. It's a big commitment. And on the race itself, it's not like a one-day 50-miler where you can just pack your bag and oh, by the end of the day, I've been done. You've got to take in the fact that you're going to be running in the night. You've got a night section. The elevation, the admin, the feet admin, just looking after your feet, looking after yourself, being safe, making sure that you're doing the right things at the right time. There's so much more that goes into it. And the big thing I want to call out is the time. So when you think of like, I can run a sub 4 hour marathon on a road, right, comfortably. Times that by 4, and people are thinking, oh, can you probably do like a 16-hour 100-miler? It just doesn't work like that. So, I started at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, and I finished after 8 o'clock on Sunday night. I don't pause my watch. See, I don't pause my watch. I left it running in the checkpoints, so I haven't got like a running time, if that makes sense. My Garmin thinks it was 28 hours. I feel that feels about right. But I just kept my watch running it, because your checkpoint time is still your time. Yeah. Your checkpoint time is classed as your time running, essentially. So I think it's important to leave your watch on, because you get a true reflection of how long it took. And it did take 38 hours genuinely, because being in a checkpoint is part of the race. It's how you deal with the checkpoint is part of your race. Yeah. It's not just about running. So much more goes into it.
How did you deal with sleep deprivation?
I think when I look back at it now, one night, so I think everyone can do one night. I think generally we can all get through one night. The hallucinations didn't really happen. I had a couple of visuals, but I think if anyone says they had proper hallucinations, I'm not sure if they're lying, but you have to be really sleep deprived. And I think once you get one night, your circadian rhythm kicks in, and then day 2, I was more tired in the day 2 on office like. I think a lot of that though was also just dehydration, not necessarily sleep deprivation. Yeah. It was when I got back after the race, when I was at Fion's, like 11 o'clock in the night. I've never been so away with the fairies. I was like saying loads of stuff. I can't remember talking to her, but I was saying all sorts of stuff to her. I was getting out of bed with sweats. My watch thought I had 2 hours sleep on Sunday night. I didn't. I had more than that, because I was so restless. And I was I was so sleep deprived that night. But yeah, back to your question. I think I just dealt with it. I just think like I didn't want to sleep because I knew if I'd slept, my body would have gone cold and into shutdown mode, and it would have been like, you're done. And I would have struggled to get going again, and I would have been groggy as fuck after a nap. But it works for some people, and I know some people did sleep and they woke up and it helped. So I don't know how I would have reacted because I didn't do it. I never took my. So what I didn't do, I didn't take my sleeping bag, because they say take your sleeping bag in your drop bag, just in case you want to sleep at the sleep station. I just purposely didn't take it. I was like, I'm just going to deal with it one night. Oh, funny enough, I also was like, I really want to see how I would react. I wanted to see if I could have some hallucinations. And I had a couple of I had 3, which were, I wouldn't say they were hallucinations as such. They were just where my mind played a bit of a trick on me. So, do you remember the old Windows Media Player visuals, the colours and that? So, in the night section, when I had the music on, now, I wasn't even that late. It was probably like 2 o'clock in the morning. My head torch, and it was light rain and mist, and the light rain and mist was doing all the visuals as I had like the trance music on.
Yeah.
So I was just like amazed by it. I was just like, it wasn't like hallucination. It was just weird. Anyway, that was fun. When the sun came up, I thought I saw a boar, a big fat boar. It wasn't, it was just a bush shaped like a boar. So it wasn't a hallucination. It was just misreading something from a distance. And then the last one was a genuine one where my eyes played proper hallucinating tricks on me. It must have been like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was boiling. We were really tired. All we wanted to find was water. And off top of Offa's Dyke, you got loads of slabs, because they've obviously airdropped slabs up onto Offa's Dyke. So Offa's Dyke is the border between England and Wales. So if you lean left on the trail, you're in England. If you lean right, you're in Wales. So I was always trying to lean right, because obviously I wanted to stay home. I thought someone had planted a gate on Offa's Dyke, stopping us going through. Even though you could just walk around this imaginary gate, it was just loads of grass that was like sticking up. But the grass to me looked like an actual gate, and I was like, why are they put a fucking gate there? And that's how I was talking, because I was so tired. Why are they put a fucking gate there? And he was like, it's fucking grass, Mike. And I was like, oh, fuck, it is. And I said, my head's gone. So I just had those three incidents with what could be regarded as sleep deprivation and or just being dehydrated. But yeah, not as bad as I thought. It was just after the race. It's just been weird. I've just felt weird the last couple of days. My body just felt just really odd, just really tired, which is understandable, really.
Yeah. I was going to then ask how are you doing now, because you've done it. You've had 3 days rest now. How's the body feeling? Yeah,
weird. So straight after the race, about 10 minutes after, I started to just get really sore, right? But I managed to get into the car, okay? One thing that never happened to me during the race, which was I never had cramp at all. The whole of the race. Even with the styles near the end of the race, no cramp. I'm amazed at that, because normally, at some point, I get some sort of cramp, right? Yeah. Just overstretching. But I think because you run so slow and you're not overstepping and overreaching, I really looked after my muscles. I've got no muscle issues. My legs, the day after, absolutely fine. Where I've had a real problem has been my right knee. So my right knee was really swollen the day after. I don't quite know what it is. It's calmed down loads now. I'm not worried about it. I think it's just normal aches and pains, but it has been really swollen. Little toes were destroyed. Rest of my feet are really looked after. They're in really good shape. So that's pleasing. I feel loads better than I thought I would. Loads better, I never expected. I put that down to just how I prepared, I guess, and how I've trained. Yeah. And I've always been a good recoverer. And one of the key recovery things for me is napping. People laugh at me, but I love a nap most days. I think it's one of those underrated and under talked about things in sport. Just a lunchtime 20-minute nap every day, really helps me, and I suppose just experience has helped as well. So yeah, I'm in a really good place. I can't moan. I'm tired. Don't get me wrong, I'm tired now. My stats said 15,000 calories I burnt. I haven't put 15,000 calories back in. I need to eat more. I know that, but I will do over the next couple of days. I'm back home now, and I'm planning on a feast later. Sit down, watch some football. back to normal life. I don't even feel guilty for not running like this. Like, it's just,
I don't blame you.
yeah, like normally if you haven't run for a few days, you're like, oh fuck, I feel a bit guilty. But I'm being kind to myself this week.
I've seen a few of the other guys are already out running. Like Luke went out running yesterday.
Yeah, amazing. Just amazing. Like, I need to shout this out. So everyone that started that race, I got so much respect for you, whether you finished or you didn't finish. Just to be on a start line of a 100-mile race is just an achievement in itself. And obviously, my biggest love to go to my friend John. So I weren't going to talk about it, but I will, because he won't mind. He probably won't even listen to this because he's not a podcasty type person. He likes certain podcasts, but I don't think he'll listen to me. But he might do. If you're listening, John, I fucking love you. John went into almost like hypothermic state at mile 80. He'd exerted himself so much. He was flying. I think he was 5th at the time, 5th or 6th. He's my biggest inspiration. Just a normal guy, incredible athlete. And was withdrawn medically because he was being sick for a few hours. And I'm gutted for him because no one, he deserves it more than most people. Just the training that he's done he far eclipsed the training that I put in. He's really put it in. And when I heard that he DNF'd, I was really worried because I didn't know the story. I didn't know what had happened, and I was like, "Fuck! If he's DNF, something's happened." So big love to my mate John. But yeah, everyone that did that race, I've got nothing but admiration to the people who won it in 25 hours, which is just, that course is not a course that lends itself to like sub 24s. This is not a beginner 100 miler by any stretch of the imagination, even though there was a lot of us that were, it was our first time. And then there was someone that finished in 48 hours. I've got so much respect for that, because to do another 10 hours what I did, I just don't know if I would have had another night in me. Yeah. Be really interesting to get that person on your podcast and ask how they got through another night, because that is just, I can't fathom it. I can't. I've done 100 mile an hour and I can't understand how someone did an extra 10 hours. So yeah, it was brutal.
No, sounds it. Like you were saying off air, this is one of the hardest 100 milers in the UK.
So I'm not deciding that. I've heard this from a few different people now. So there was one gentleman I ran with for a bit. I think he's done he's done loads of 100 milers around the world and the UK. And he's like, it's the hardest one he's ever done. And he was using it as a set. He was using it as a kind of warm up to the Lakeland 100, which is brutal. But yeah, it's not to be sniffed at. It's got to be up there with one of the toughest, because the elevation and the terrain. There's so many boulders. So like you're running and it's painful because you're just constantly hitting boulders. It's not like a clear path where you can get some cadence. You're like constantly smashing your feet against boulders. You've got constant climbs, and some of the descents are so technical that you can't get much pace down them. You're just putting so much strain on your legs trying to brake with all the the rocks, and it's tough. It's just so really tough. It's got to be up there with one of the toughest races around. Reese likes to challenge people in a good way. The Wild Horses 200 miler is brutal as well. You're talking 30,000 feet of elevation over some of the toughest mountains in the south of the UK. So this was similar in the sense that you're doing some of these spicy, we call them spicy. There's some spicy climbs. To do Sugarloaf a mile 102 for anyone is just, it's like satanic. Do you know what I mean? It's just like going into the pits of hell. But weirdly, I think I said it earlier, I really enjoyed the elevation, like going up. I'm fine. I'm really, really strong going up. Yeah. It's just the descending that generally catches a lot of people out. People don't talk about it enough. And I'm gonna big thank you to Lee Davis as well, because back in 2022 he gave me some advice around downhill repping. So he's like, everyone talks about uphill reps, do hill reps, but no one really talks about doing the downhill stuff. So I adopted that into my training in 2022. No, in 2023, sorry. And this year a lot. So just reverse hill reps. So I'd use the hill. Recovery would be going up, just really slow, and then trying to blast downhill. It's made so much difference to my running. Don't get me wrong, I'm still not the best descender, but I was able to do 100 miles and cope with getting down.
Yeah.
You know, my legs didn't blow up once. A lot of that is down to the advice that I took. I'm never really good at taking advice from people. I don't like people giving me advice. I genuinely only get advice when I ask for it, and I asked him for advice, and that was one of the advice he gave me when I first met him was around this downhill reps. So yeah, if I could pass on anything to anyone is don't forget the downhill stuff, because you're going to do your uphill stuff because you know it's a lot of climbing. And then next year, obviously, and we alluded to earlier, Reese's reversed the route for next year. So I know that's going to, a lot of people that have been like, right, I've done it now, I'm not doing it again. There's going to be a lot of people now that go, oh, I'm going to have to do it next year. I ain't doing it, but
that's what Gemma was saying to me. She was like, oh, I'm doing it again.
I think she'll want to go back on it again because she had such a good time, and to do it in reverse, it would be really interesting. So I recce'd pretty much the whole route anyway in training, and I said, funny enough, I actually said on the glory leg back from checkpoint 8 to the finish to my pace to my friend Harriet, it would be really cool if he reversed this route, because it would make it a different challenge again in a weird different sort of way, and he's obviously made that decision, and I think it's a good decision. I think that'll be really interesting. And next year I'm gonna pace John hopefully at some point in the race and have a keen eye on the race. Like, it's been nice to go there and not have so much pressure on me, because I've done it. So yeah, I think it'll be really, really good next year, and you probably see a load of people. There's gonna be a lot of people who will do it as their first 100 because they've seen a lot of us do it now, and then they were weary last year about signing up, and I know a few people now have said, oh, I think I'm gonna do it. I'm like, yeah, just go for it. Yeah. Be prepared, but yeah.
It's just, I really want to do it, but I've got other things going on.
Are you able to tell us about what other things you potentially going to do, or that's obviously still maybe in the pipeline of planning and stuff like that before you can say?
I want to just plan out my next 10 years and just lay it out there and be like, because I've got a picture in my head of literally my next 10 years worth of challenges, but it's just, one, I'm constantly changing them. And then two, it's just fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, I want to get this time marathon out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I've done that, and then I've had the week rest before I do the rhythm, then, or 2 weeks, however long it is, then I'll go into talking about my next challenge. But 100 miles is on the cards fairly soon. So
probably be a side quest knowing you.
Probably. I've got too many side quests going on. Yeah.
But that's what Adventure Athletes is all about, eh?
It's the time for me. I'm trying to build this brand. I'm trying to work full time on top of it. Got the podcast going on. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And then you take into consideration, you're training for something no one's really ever done before. Great. That's 4 hours of tyre flips in a day. Where am I fitting that in? It's
a lot to juggle. But I know what you're like now, and whatever you put your mind to, you're going to go out and give it your best, and you're not going to leave anything. You know when you do your tyre flip challenge now, I don't think you would have been able to give anything more because of.
I've started doubting the ability to do the marathon after doing these long sessions and realising the amount of time it's going to take. You can only
give your best on that day. You're doing something that no one else has ever done before, so there is that, right? So you're not only taking yourself into an unknown, you're probably taking humanity into an unknown from that specific challenge.
Someone has done a tyre flip marathon before, but I don't know how I feel about it. Because they did it in 77 hours, but they've gone home and slept and stuff. And does that count? If I was doing a 100-mile race, can I go home and sleep and then come back to where I finished and keep going?
There's there's two ways of looking at these things in there, because there's multi-day events out there. So I know people that have done like 100Ks, but they've done like they've done 50K, gone to sleep, and then come into again. That doesn't it's nothing compared to doing like 100 miles in one go.
Yeah.
You know, you can't mimic it. Having that overnight sleep and rest is like, it's a new day. It's not in one go, is it? So I think from an integrity point of view, doing it in that one go, yeah, obviously you can rest, allow yourself time to rest during the process, but fucking off home and sleeping, that would be a multi-day event then, wouldn't it? In theory, I think.
Yeah.
That's just where I sit with it. I know that people that may not agree with that, but
the thing is, I'm pretty sure there's not too much information about it online, but I'm pretty sure, like, he's got some land by his house, so he didn't really leave to go home. So it's not like where I'm going to be doing it potentially down just like a cycle path in Llantrisant, and then I'd have to drive home to sleep and then drive back. Like, it's like, well, it's convenient. Whereas, like, I might allow myself to sleep, but I'm sleeping like, yeah, sort of thing. So it's a bit, I'm conflicted about it.
I think you need to set yourself a time limit for your sleep. So like, that keeps you in. But in the 100, 4 hours.
Yeah, how he decides that though.
Yeah, so you're not allowed, in the race I did, you weren't allowed to be at a checkpoint for more than 4 hours. So technically you could sleep, or anywhere on the course, you weren't allowed to stop any more than 4 hours of the course. So technically you get 4 hours sleep somewhere, and then go again.
Can you only do that once, or can you?
No, I don't. I think you could probably do that multiple times, I'm guessing, because each checkpoint. But I don't know where they get that from. But I didn't want to do that anyway, because I wanted to do it straight through.
Yeah.
Because if I had 4 hours sleep, I would, in my head, that would have always bugged me. I think I would have always gone, yeah, but you slept, mate. So if you slept like 12 o'clock at night, it's almost like a multi-day event then. It's almost like doing 250 milers, which is not the same as doing just 100 mile in that one stint. So that's where I am with it, but I think it's only matters what you think, because it's around how you feel about it, whether it would bug you, I suppose, during the event.
This is
or
what
after.
I'm trying to wrap my head around currently, is because now that I've pretty much decided that I'm not going to do it as an official Guinness World Record, there's too many hoops to jump through.
Red tape.
It's just, it's annoying me how frustrating it is to try and organise that. That I'm just like, you know what, it's Guinness. Why do Guinness own world records? It is just a big marketing scheme. Like, I had a really good chat with Bob Thomas about this, and he's like, fuck Guinness. Like, they've got no right to that. Like, you can do a world record and have fuck all to do with them. And I was like, I mean, yeah, like, I've done the hard thing. So
you could still be a world record holder and not be in a book.
Yeah.
That's right. When I think of the Guinness World Records, I just think of the book.
Yeah.
I used to get it like every Christmas. You know what I mean? And, like, guy with the longest toenails.
Yeah.
I just remember those things. But like now, there's so many record holders, and there's not a book. You couldn't even fit all the records in a Bible, I don't think, these days, because people obviously opt to do so many different records. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's probably a record out there, the world record for wearing a yellowed ribboned medal. I don't know. You could just make one up, couldn't you?
Yeah.
There's so many different records out there, so I don't pay much attention to the Guinness World Record side of things.
Yeah.
But if you were to say I am the record holder because you did it, I'd be like, right, he's the fucking record holder.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's in a book or whatever.
I like the standardization that it brings, where it's like, these are the standards we want.
Yeah.
I like that, but I don't like.
It's really hard because of all the admin and setup and stuff you've got to do.
Because I feel like I feel like they're too stringent, but it's because they want you to pay them to send someone out.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say how much it is, but it's like a shit ton of money that most people will never be able to afford.
Yeah.
Just to get someone there to watch you.
Verify.
Yeah. Just so you don't have to go through all the other.
Yeah, and it's not like your record is like a 30-second attempt at eating ping pong balls or something. I don't know. I wonder what the record is for that. Yours is a mammoth challenge, innit? So that's what. I'm guessing you may have to. You would have had to record yours or live stream it for evidence, and and then there's loads of complications with that. You'd need a crew of people, wouldn't you? And it's getting people together on a bank holiday and stuff. Because I know I'm in Bulgaria. Me and the kids are going away on holiday. I ain't cancelling I need a holiday.
You have your holiday.
Thanks,
You've earned it, mate.
Thanks, mate.
I'm not expecting you to be there.
I would have live streamed it for you.
I've got a ton of other challenges you can come and support for. There's no shortness of that.
Yeah, I obviously joined you before for one of your challenges, and my fault now. I'm stuck in it now. I can't. I'm in the community. I'm here for the long haul, so I'm happy to get involved when I can.
But yeah, what I'm now trying to debate, because now Guinness isn't a thing and I'm not following their rules, is where do I sit with it? Where am I drawing the line of this is acceptable, this is not acceptable?
Only you can decide that.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a head fuck in itself. Yeah. And I'm just trying to decide, like, in my head I was like, 2 hours sleep, that's what I'm allowed in one go. And then I was like,
you might find that you just want little naps rather than.
Yeah.
I
don't think I'd do well off a nap, mind.
There's a 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 3 different versions of naps. Those 3. The 20-minute one I think would be ideal for you, but then that's only my opinion. It doesn't matter what I think, really, does it? But like, yeah. Sometimes, well, sleeping for longer, it's time you could be moving as well, isn't it? So it's a little bit of that thing, is you just want to get it done. Yeah. But also, you want to finish that challenge and have that sense of, like, fulfillment. And then then you're moving on to your next year's challenge, and because you want to knock it off in your head, like, that is one of my challenges and I'm done. Yeah. And you don't need Guinness to verify that for you. That needs to come from within. Yeah.
And I've set three standards already, 3 goals. So I've got my gold standard, which is the marathon. Like, if I hit a marathon, that means everything's gone well. I've, like, trained properly, everything's going well on the day. I'm not, like, dehydrated, I'm not fucking up my fueling, I haven't fucked anything up. Then I'll be, like, ecstatic. My silver goal, I got this off Nathan Hutton, funnily enough, these 3 goals. Yeah. My silver one has been 48 hours. Just go for 48 hours. Doesn't matter how far I get. Just flip a tyre for 48 hours. Because I'm expecting a marathon to take about that long, if not longer. So if I get to 48 hours...
You're going to slow down naturally. Fatigue will set in. Do you know what I mean? Naturally, that's going to happen, isn't it?
So if I get to 48 hours and I'm completely fucked and I'm like, I can't do the marathon, I might be like 20 miles in, then I'll be like, yeah, I'll knock this in the head now. And then my bronze standard is I'm just going to go till I break, basically, until I physically can't go anymore. They're my 3 standards. It might be I do 12 hours.
But all 3 are acceptable.
Yeah.
From a Herculean point of view, surely. What you don't want to do is the 3rd one and completely break yourself and put you back. So also be happy with the other 2. I mean, whatever you hit.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, like, it might get to 24 hours, say, and I'm just completely fucked. I'm run down. I'm in absolute bits, and I just physically can't lift the tyre anymore. Then it's like, well, I know I've reached my limit.
That is the labour, isn't it? That is, yeah. I think that's perfect.
But I also do know that I would struggle with the feeling of failure if I don't hit the marathon.
I don't think that's a failure, though. But that's how I feel. That's how I think. I'd be, yeah.
Like you were saying, you'd be devastated if you didn't finish the 100-miler. Yeah, but you would have run more than you'd ever run before.
Yeah. But that is a 100-miler, so that it's got a set.
Well, I've said marathon. That's a set distance. Yeah. I've said marathon, and I've been saying that from day one.
Well, you're gonna have to do a fucking marathon then, aren't you?
So this is where I'm struggling because, yeah, that's gonna be fucked, and it's just I'm trying to figure out how strict I'm going to be with everything. Like, obviously, I'm tracking distance properly. Like, there's no way around that. I'm not going to be like, well, I kind of hit a marathon.
Yeah.
That'll do.
How are you going to track the distance?
I'm either going to have it's basically I'm going to have a set course that I just either go round like an athletics track or
Yeah.
go back and forth.
So if you went round once, you're 400 metres.
Yeah. So it's going to be like a recorded distance, and I'm going to have it like checked properly, not just like Strava jobby. Like I'll get like one of those measuring wheel things or something, and just like push it down. Say it's a kilometre, and it's like, I know there's 1k, back's 2k. Got to do that 42 times, and then 200 meters. So I'd probably end up just doing 43k just to be safe. But yeah, it would be something like that. So yeah, there's even though Guinness aren't involved, it's now brought a whole load of other things I need to consider.
I think either way it's going to be really tough and hard, but then that's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So do you know you're having like these little doubts around the distance? That's probably a good thing, because it's like, well, that's proving the whole thing of reason why you're doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because if it was like in your head it was just achievable, then I know Bob Thomas was, is it hard, and is it not hard enough for you then?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe the fact you're having doubts is probably a good thing, because then that just proves the whole reason you're doing it.
That's it.
Because if it wasn't a doubtful thing to do, everyone could do it, but they can't. Well, they could, but they're not going to, are they? This is the sort of challenge which is what puts you at that extraordinary level versus the everyday civilians, or just basic ultra runners like me, who just stick to one thing.
The thing that comes with, though, is if I don't do the marathon, because like, yes, I'm doubting myself whether I can or not, and I'm trying to be okay with maybe I don't do it, maybe that's fine too, maybe I'll just push myself, and the fact that I'm having these doubts, like you're saying, is showing that it's hard enough to be worthy to be on the list. But then what happens after? Do I then have to, because I've said I'm going to do 12 labours, if I don't do one of them, like I try and I fail, is that acceptable in the sense of, well, I'm trying these 12 like almost impossible things, or is it like, now I have to go back and redo that? Like,
I think you make a good point, because actually, because of the severity of the challenge in terms of just how difficult it is, actually trying and failing, I think, would be acceptable as doing it, because it's that. It is the whole thing is having a go at it as well. I think that's another way of looking at it, like you said. Also, I wouldn't think about it until you do it, and then reflect.
Like I said, I've got a lot of time to think at the moment, so
but
it's
then
just
your energy should be focused on the fundamentals, controlling what you control. Yeah, it's really that's one of the things I've taken from this weekend, is actually I couldn't control the weather, so what's the point in moaning about it? I could only control the controllables, the fundamentals, like looking after my feet, making sure I was eating, making sure I was drinking. And it's the same for you. Just look after what you can look after right now, which is your training, what you're putting in. What's going to happen is going to happen. You can't think about August now, because all you can think about is right this moment. Oh, right in this moment we're talking, but if you just live in the moment. So when I'm doing a hill rep, I'm generally not thinking too much about the 100. In that moment, I'm like, right, I need to get these done. Then after I can go, right, that would have helped this, and this. So I always try and live in your training, be present. That's why the risky trigs was good, because I was just focused on getting the trig.
Yeah.
And really, I'm training for 100 miler, but I just made this game up in it. So I was just, for me, I'm not great at giving advice on these things, but just again, I'm going to always say again, just try and have as much fun as you can as well, I guess.
I don't even know if I've even considered having fun in this, because it's not fun.
It's gonna suck, innit? But it's type 2 fun, retrospectively, innit? It's one of those things when you'll do your tyre flips, you'll have hands like you've been down the mines for 3 days, you'll be tired, but then you look back when you sat down in the evening eating some food, and you're going, you know what? It was hard, but I fucking enjoyed that today. The 2,000 tyre flips. It's the same with all of these things, these challenges. They're not easy. We talk about having fun. These things we do, they're not like, they don't feel good in the sense that, like, it's not pleasure. Do you know what I mean? It's generally hard, isn't it? It's pain. It's either pain in your lungs, pain in your body, pain in your brain. But when you look back, it is that type 2 fun, in it, retrospectively looking back and going, do you know what? That was amazing. It's like having a tattoo, isn't it? It's like you forget the pain. A couple of days later, you're like, oh yeah, it was wicked. You know, I sat there all day and tattoo said I was really good, and I got this like little memento from that day. I think it's a similar feeling to that, where you just look back, and it always feels a lot better than what it did in the moment. Like, I'm like talking about the 100 like as if it was like, it was really good, and it was. I remember being in a really dark place. It was horrible, and I was like, I'm fucking never doing this again. And I'm still in that mold. I've got no one answered questions in 100. I've done it, so it's a bit like the Labour thing, the Hercules in it, where I've done that now, and I know I don't need to prove it to myself. No. So we'll get to a stage where I'll be like, right, fucking hell, what's next? But I don't know where that's going to take me. Who knows?
It could be anything. It doesn't even have to be like a mega challenge again, like a physical one. It could be like something in your personal life.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you want to focus on helping people. I know it's probably not you, but like, for example, it could be like, I want to really get into ultra coaching. That's what I want to do. And then that's the challenge, is learning how to navigate that world and do that. Like, there's a challenge isn't just, here's a fucking thing, a really hard thing that I think everyone should do. A challenge is like, it's just a way of improving yourself in every aspect.
It's a really good way of looking at it. And that's something I've always done. So I've always strived for things like in my career and in my personal life and stuff. I've never spoken about it in the same way I speak about the physical challenges, but you are right. They're the same thing. It's all around becoming better in it. And so giving back would be something for me, I think, moving forward. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I already do give back, I think. I like to help people. I like getting people out running. It's one of my favourite thing ever is just getting people out on the trails. I just love it. I just think there's so many benefits to it. Like, no one can gatekeep ultras. No one owns the ultra community. No one. We're all equal shareholders in the running world. We're all, Joe Bloggs down the road's got just as much right to be on the trail as I have. Do you know what I mean? So to get people to enjoy and see the benefits of trail running is like, I'm genuinely passionate about that. What we didn't talk about, which I'll add in, is my friend Harriet, who paced me. So she popped a Facebook message on a group in December. It was like the South Wales running community. Are there any trail runners in Barry? I live here. I want to get out. Anyway, so I messaged and said, look, there's some few of us really. If you want to join us, you can. And she paced me in my 100, and she was there for the finish, and the most important moment of my life. She did her first ultra in May at the Howham. So she's gone from being a road runner, enjoy the trails, do the occasional 10k. She's done like half marathon. She's an ultra runner now. She's an ultra runner, and a lot of that was down to her just me bugging her to get out and come out with me and my friends, and she's loved it, and she's like proper engulfed herself into the community. That's what I'm there for now. I love that. I just love getting people out. Yeah. So other friends I've got doing ultras now this year. I got a few people doing the rhythm that I've put them forward to do. I should get commission from Pegasus because I've got a lot of people into the events over the last kind of so many months. So Reese and Karis, please reward me with royalties. No, I'm joking. Yeah, so that we'll see.
You should get like a Pegasus ambassador code.
Yeah.
You get 10% off your race, and then you get some of the profit as well.
Yeah.
Here you go, Reese. Business idea. Get more people in.
It's growing so much now. He's not going to enough space. He's going to have to take on extra people in his business, I think, because the great thing about Pegasus is the family feel of it as well. So I think the Howham had 200 people, which is I think it was their biggest event. I think the Voga might have been even bigger in the end, at point of the Howam, it was the largest. There was 102 females, 98 males. So there was, I think it was the first time there was more females than males. 100% finish rate in that race. What Reese and Karis are doing for females in the sport is just incredible. So they're making it accessible, you know, by having female race directors as well, really inspiring females to come into the sport, which was primarily been dominated by males for so many years. When you're in a Pegasus event, you don't feel that. You feel equal. Everyone's equal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about, you know, your gender. Do you mean, you know, or your sex? It's about, you're an ultra runner because you're an ultra runner, and that's all that matters. And it's amazing just see how many women are getting involved within the Pegasus community. They set the gold standard in inclusivity and bringing people into the sport by little things, by not having cut-off times in ultras in most of their races. It just gives peace of mind to people that they can do it, and actually if they do encompass any sort of trouble during a race, they still got that time to get that medal and finish and have those amazing feelings of accomplishment. So I think I doff my hat off to what Reese is doing in the community, and other businesses in the same world should follow. I know there's other event companies that do ultras. They're not a patch on Pegasus in what they do. They need to look up and see what they're doing and sort of mimic it, because it's only going to grow the sport even more. But a little part of me doesn't want the sport to grow too much, because it's quite nice the way it is now, because it's like it's a small enough community that, like, you know a lot of people, and you kind of, it's like you want it to still be your kind of community. So I hope it don't grow too much. I mean, because road running is blowing up, and at the moment, like London Marathon, I think they had like 850,000 applicants, like a record number. And I think they released today who got it. It doesn't interest me anyway, road running anymore. But road running is just blowing up. But you know what that's going to happen is a lot of people who are in trails, they used to be road runners, and then one day they go out on a trail and they're like, oh my God, this is where I want to be. So I can imagine trail running in about 3 or 4 years just really like blowing up, and maybe ultras are going to be bigger. And we'll start to see more quirky races popping around and stuff.
Yeah. I would love to see more adventure athletes rather than just ultra runners, because I think there's a lot of everyone's starting to consider this a running podcast now. It is by no means a running podcast. I have a lot of runners on because they embody adventure athletes. They're going out, pushing themselves beyond their limits, trying to improve themselves. But then anyone that's doing something that's a bit crazy, like the way I think of it is, I genuinely, now people think this is weird when I say this, I hate training. There is nothing I like about training other than the fact that what it lets me do. I like being able to go out and do an ultra marathon, but I also like being able to go out and just hike in the mountains for hours, or go rock climbing, or
do a front flip off a speed bump.
Yeah, or do a front flip off a speed bump. Just like anything. I just like to be able to use my body in different ways, and I like to be able to look at something and be like, I've never done that before. You like
the diversity of skills, don't you, with these challenges. I think it's really nice. I'm just too narrow-minded for it compared to you in that sense, and it's a lot of that is down to, I think, I found, because it's taken me so long to find something that I truly love, and because I found it, and I don't want to let it go at the moment. That's not to say I'm not adverse to like doing different things, because that's not me. I do like different things, but at this moment, I'm in my little bubble, and I'm quite happy there at the moment. I'm very happy there at the moment. But what I like about you is that your diversity of interests within adventure athletes as a whole, and you're right. Because I'm part of it in a way now, and I see other people and what they do. It's not just runners. There's you're doing your climbing as well. You've got the guy who was riding a bike, electric bike from London. That was brilliant. Ed. So I never knew if I got my guess the closest, because I think I said like Salisbury. Ed, let me know.
I think he did post something about it.
Yeah. I never knew how far he got, but like that sort of stuff is brilliant, isn't it? Because they're little challenges that you don't really think of, and then someone's thought of it, and you're like, oh my god, that's a cool little challenge.
Yeah.
I've put a challenge forward to you. I think you should do in the next couple of years. So we'll hopefully see if that potentially materializes. But I know you'll think of other challenges as well, and that might come first. So. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do, and also the people that you bring into the community, because you're always bringing in new people like Laura. Like, got chatting to Laura quite a bit, and like her story is amazing, and she's an incredible athlete. And just seeing the different things that people do, I think
the guys recently 20 fan that
incredible.
Did 20 laps of Penavan, and I'm just like, what? And like two of them are in the group chat now, and yeah, they both just did long course weekend with Andrew.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty crazy challenges coming up themselves. They're going to be at the Rhythm. They've all signed up to the Rhythms. That'll be fun. I talked to them because I think like one or two of them said they were going to do it, and then on the podcast I was bullying the rest of them to be like, I'm doing it, let's all do it, yeah, come on guys. And then like by the end of it, like they were bullying each other and being like, we're all doing it.
They'll piss the Rhythm because the elevation 20 would just been, I think it'd probably be nearly 30,000 feet, I'd imagine, 20 times.
It was like 8,900 meters, so whatever that is in feet.
Times it by 3 essentially, it's nearly 30,000 feet. Probably like 70 odd miles, was there? Yeah, that's just like doing an insane ultra marathon, but just in the elevation is just out of this world. So Rhythm will be all right because you've only got a handful of climbs, and I think the highest one's probably Mynydd Machyn. It's all right. Do you know what I mean? Just power hike, and then run the downs and the flats, and before you know it, you're 30 miles. You'll be done, before 7 hours, I'd imagine. If you can just get a move on, it's all right. So it'll be good. We need to get everyone together and have a pre-race photo. Yeah. Me and Sean, we were talking about doing it in fancy dress. So I need to see what we can get away with, because obviously there's mandatory kit, and then there's being comfortable as well for 30 miles in sort of mountainous sort of terrain. So we'll see. I might turn up dressed like a fucking Ninja Turtle or something, or the Chuckle Brothers or something. We don't know. Or I might not. Yeah. We'll see. But it would have been quite nice to do the Rhythm and have a bit of fun. Although it's not my last race now, so I've booked on. What is this race? So I shout out to Kevin Madden, who I spoke about earlier, was like the best volunteer ever. He runs the Mad Running Junkies. It's a small business. He organises some races. So he's organised a race called the Hateful Eight.
The winter edition.
The winter edition of Hateful Eight. So I wanted to do something similar last year or earlier in the year, but I couldn't do it for some reason. I think it was the one earlier in the year, the summer edition or the spring edition. And I'm going to be doing that in October, so it's just an extra race. I think it's pretty much 9, call it the Hateful Eight. I think it's between 8 and 9 mile loop. And then you just got to do as many loops as you can in 8 hours.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's called the Hateful Eight because it's 8 hours. I thought it was because of the distance. Anyway,
think it's like 8.8 miles as well.
Something like that. So, but the monotony of doing the same loop makes those events quite tough.
See, I think that's where I'd stand out.
See, you'd enjoy that, would you?
I'd flip a tyre back and forth for 4 hours. I think an 8 mile loop is not going to be boring for me.
Yeah. So there's that. I've got that now in October. So, and then rest of the year then, November, December, I think I might just have a nice just recovery period. Tick over. Continue to move. It's important. Just move your body in it. Stay on the trails. Have fun. Do some more risky tricks. I still got some I need to bank in South Wales. There's one I failed twice on. So there's one not far from me in Wembo, above a quarry. I failed twice on, and I just feel like
I kind of want to get it before you. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a good challenge. You could do.
I'm just so consumed by tyre flips right now. But if you haven't got it before,
tyre flip to the trigger, and that'll really wind me up. That you got up there with a tyre. Funny enough, I went on a run with one of my friends weeks ago, and actually I weren't far away from it. So it's the third way attempt. The third attempt at it is going a different way in, and I think I can do it. I've seen a way. It's just I got to do it. I've been talking about it for months, and I haven't bagged it yet. Yeah. So I will get that at some point. But I got a race, just a casual 30-mile mountain race next week, straight after my 100, which is going to be a bit interesting, I think, because, and I'm lucky I'm doing this when there's no cut-off times, because it could end up being a long day next weekend on the Pigham. And to make matters worse, it's essentially the same mountain range I've just done on the weekend. So it starts with a blast at Blorange, down into Clydach, up to the up and around, and then past the Lonely Shepherd, over to the Sugarloaf. I'm fed up of Sugarloaf, man. I've done it so much. I'm not fed up of it, but you know what I mean. I've spent so much time going up and down Sugarloaf over the last year. So I got that next week. So that'll be interesting, because that'll be a true test of my recovery, because the good thing is the whole no cut-off times. There's no pressure. I can power hike a lot of it, and just see how I feel. And then I've got like a holiday booked in August after the next race, which is the Edam. The Edam's going to be that's a tough one. It's a 50-mile mountain, and I think the terrain's pretty tough from what I hear. So, but hopefully by the Edam, I'll feel all right, because I've got the Pigham now next week. Then I'll have a few weeks where I can properly recover.
Yeah.
And then hopefully my knee is not so swollen. I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, I reckon you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Got some time, so yeah. All right, wrapping it up then. Before we go into you setting the weekly challenge,
I hadn't even thought of that. I literally, I'm going to have to think of something off the top of my head, but go on.
I just wanted to go back to the whole thing of setting these challenges and what it's like being an adventure athlete, because I feel like after this podcast, people are going to have like quite high expectations of like, to feel part of that, you have to like run 100 miles or do a tyre flip marathon. But I want to point out that like, obviously I do the personal training side of things as well. That's part of adventure athletes, and I've taken some people from like not really being that active, or maybe they've been in the gym and being active, and then they're now starting to set their own challenges.
Yeah.
And I consider them as much adventure athletes as anyone I've had on this podcast. So like I've got one, Ellie, who she came to the 1 year anniversary of Adventure Athletes, and she helped us carry kettlebells over Penavan, which was great to see her there. But she signed up with me specifically for Adventure Athletes. She was like, I want to climb Kilimanjaro. And I was like, you've got that goal, amazing, I'll train you for it. And that was more the sort of people I started targeting. I was like, I want these people that already want to be adventure athletes. But now I'm seeing benefit in, I took someone on, he came to me, he was like, I want to lose a bit of belly fat. And I was like, yeah, no worries, I can do that. Not an issue. And this weekend, Saturday, he's going to be running his first 10k. He just set himself this goal. He was like, I'm going to fundraise and I'm going to run a 10k. He'd never really run before. He's still not done much running. I ran with him earlier. We did 6.5k. That's the most he's ever run. And like even indoors on a treadmill. And I'm just like, you're running a 10k. And he's an adventure athlete in my mind.
It's all relative, isn't it? I think like it is literally relativity, because it's a classic cliche saying, but comparison is the actual thief of joy. It doesn't matter what you do. There's someone who has done more. There'll be someone that's done faster. I did a 100-mile race on the weekend. Loads of people I know finished hours ahead of me. Now I could get into that whole state of like, I wasn't fast enough. Now next year I need to go and do it. It's all relative. Now whether that's 100 miles or if it's a 10k, it's all about how it makes you feel. Now when that person does that 10k, there's no doubt in my mind they'll feel the same that I did when I crossed that finish line on Saturday. Yeah. It's fucking doesn't matter about the distance. All that matters is that feeling of accomplishment inside you. That's all that matters.
Someone else that's running the 10k who you've also met, my mum.
No
Both my parents have signed up to the 10k. I convinced them into it.
You've definitely inspired them.
I convinced them.
Or did you bully them into doing it?
It was when I was going to support you. When I was driving down, I was on the phone to my parents, and I was like, "Yeah, come do 10k with me next weekend. First ever 10k. They're gonna love it."
I took my daughter on her first trail run. My son he had like gymnastics in school for an hour, and I was like, right, we're gonna go now, and we got an hour, so we're gonna do this loop trail run. It's 5k. We got back, we done it in just short of an hour, and she felt like she rang her mum. She's like, "Mum, I've just done 5k on a trail." I had an ice cream halfway through, because I got this big thing about snacks in trail run. It's really important. Just snack, enjoy it, right? So we had an ice cream. She was struggling a little bit, and then we had an ice cream, and then she perked up, which obviously, because she's a kid and she had an ice cream. But how she felt at the end of that little 5k, to her, that's a marathon. Do you know what I mean? Because she's never done it before. So I'm at this big thing, and I'm always quite conscious about that, because I've got my goals and I share, and I'm doing a 100-mile race, and I understand that's a long way. Yeah. I'm as humble as I can be about it, but they're my goals, and I should be able to celebrate my goals as well. Yeah. Even if they're deemed as being big, they're still important to me, and I've earned my way to get to that place, to get that accomplishment, because it's been 7 years in the making, essentially. That. On the flip side, I'm all for everyone having their goals. It doesn't matter how big. I look at people who are doing these massive, Andrew Glaze on. I love Andrew Glaze, right? I'm not really into like the elites that much, but I love Andrew Glaze. Like, follow him on Instagram. He's brilliant. He does I think he's done 222 weeks streak of 100-mile weeks, and he's just a firefighter, isn't he? And he's just and he doesn't run fast. He's just very consistent, and that to me is like mind blowing. So I'm looking at someone who's doing like loads more than I do. So we've all got someone we can look up to, but always look up to him with like admiration.
You know who we brought this up the last podcast as well. Who I look up to, Stuart Felix.
Yeah. I don't know Stuart, but I know Stuart, if that makes sense.
He's in the South Wales running community page, and he's just every weekend. And
all the time and stuff.
I've met him twice now. I went and I did a lap of Pen y Fan with him because he did Pen y Fan.
Yeah.
But the same day, he'd run an ultra in the morning. So he ran an ultra marathon, and then went home, had some food. Then he went and did Pen y Fan, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, the guy's incredible. Fair play to him.
But he does an ultra. I'm pretty sure he does it every weekend. He's just like, I'll sign up to an event every weekend, and if there's not an event on, I'll just go and run an ultra anyway.
Yeah, there's people out there. They're always like, so that's also why it's important to just be really happy where you are as well, because we're all on a journey. There's never the destination. There is, and it doesn't matter what. There's someone I know in my town who's doing like Couch to 5k at the moment. And I love following it on like Strava, because they're like, I'm so happy at like PB for 1k, and it's like, I love that, because it's like, I know how they feel inside. It doesn't matter about the time, it doesn't matter about distance. They have that feeling of accomplishment, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah, I think I really got that. I've never really felt that excited for other people's achievements before. I've been so focused on my own thing that I've just been like, well done, like, enjoy it sort of thing, and then just been not that bothered by it. Or there's been things where it's not comparison, but I'm seeing other people do stuff, and I'm just like, I'd love to be able to do that. Not in the way of like, I physically can't do it, but like, for example, Ashley Kane doing his Ultraman, where he's run the length of the UK, cycled back, and now he's kayaking. And it's like, I wish I had the time to be able to just however long it's going to take, like 3 months off work.
Support behind.
Yeah,
that
or
makes
like
a lot, doesn't it?
Russ Cook taking a year to run across Africa. I can't get a year off work to run across Africa, but I'd love to, and I've seen it like that, where it's like I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm not jealous of them in the sense of like, oh, they're just lucky, like they can do that. It's like, yeah, I'd love to be able to do that. Like it would be so cool, like amazing achievement. Don't feel bad at myself for not being able to. I'm just like, that's wicked. But like seeing you finish that 100 miler and getting the message through being like, yeah, I finished, that is like the proudest I've been of someone else. And I was just like, that I was so happy for you. I was like, he's earned that. So
no, I appreciate that. It's like I say, it was emotional and it's indescribable.
it has made me want to do 100 miler. So when I saw the tickets were released, when I saw the tickets were released, I was like, should I? And I went to click on the link and I was like, no, I'm leaving it. I'm not doing it. Maybe I'll consider it, but I was like, get the tyre out of the way first.
Yeah, you that would be a good one for next year then. The Epona would be a good one as a challenge for sure. Because it's like you said earlier around like adventure athletes is not just about running, but 100 miler is that. It's not just about the running, it's all the other challenge that go with it, the foot care, food, etc., your mind. So it's definitely a good challenge to do, but I know you may have other ones in your head already as well, so we'll see.
I also started to realise that what I'm now noticing is the challenge from doing this tyre marathon is the training. More than anything, being consistent with training. I've never been consistent with training. Like I said, I hate training. I think it's awful. I hate the fact that you have to go and train to be able to do stuff, but I love being able to
I wing my training a lot. I don't really structure my training. I'll just decide today, I'm going to do some hill reps. I don't sit there and go, right, this week I'm going to do 45 miles and Monday that. Never do that. I've been more planned around what trigs I wanted to bag than I have done what I wanted to do in from an actual running perspective. So you can wing these things as well. You can. You don't have to be structured all the time.
Yeah.
And also when you are really structured, it never always goes to plan because you always get a curveball or two, then you've been thrown into the mix.
I think there's a benefit to both. Again, something else I've been thinking about with, funnily enough, gymnastics coaching is I love having so much structure that it's like you can pinpoint exactly what you're doing when. But then, like you said, there's always curveballs. So then I also like the adaptability of it. And I'm trying to currently find that balance of I need this structure in place to follow because obviously we work in 4-year cycles working towards Olympics and stuff. So everything we do is in a 4-year cycle. So I need to know over the next 4 years what our goals are. But then at the same time, I need to be adaptable. But I can't be too adaptable where I don't have a plan and I just come in and I can wing stuff. That doesn't work for me. It's the same with my coaching. I need plans in place. I think it's something I'm struggling with being coached as well. Is being like, well, there's this structure. You have to do this. And I'm like, I really miss doing squats. Like when I'm coaching my clients and they're doing squats, I was like, I'd love to have a squat session today. Like I really feel like doing a squat session, but I've got an hour and a half on the tyre. It's just, I'm struggling with that a bit. But
it'll all be worth it. When
hopefully.
You're the unofficial Guinness World Record holder.
I'm pretty sure I'll get like the world record for greatest distance in 24 hours because when I did the 2,500 flips, that was the equivalent of 2.5 miles in 4 hours. And the world record for 24 hours is 11 kilometres.
Yeah, which is 7 miles.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I could do that.
Achievable.
But then, because people have told me, just go for the world record, just get just above the world record. Just do like 12 or 13k and you'll have succeeded. Or they've told me, just tone it down to a half marathon. That's still amazing. And I'm like, it is, but that's not what I said I'd do. Like you're saying, for me, it's not even the fact that I've told people I'll do it because I don't care what people think because people used to just shit on my stuff all the time and be like, "You're just stupid. Why are you doing that? Why do you want to do that?" So I don't care. But I've said it to myself. I've written it down on my whiteboard. Tire flip marathon. So it's like,
It'll bug you otherwise.
Yeah.
I know what you're like.
Yeah, but there we go. Back to the challenge. What is your weekly challenge for the listeners?
I didn't think of one, right?
I
So
can't believe you didn't think of
no,
one.
I know, and my last one was well thought out.
And you've listened to them, and you've been a guest, so you knew it was coming.
This is the whole thing about winging things, mate. I said it. You can still wing things. It's important. There's two things I think I could challenge people on. One is, again, I didn't give a physical challenge last time. It was like, ring up someone and tell them how much they mean to you. So I'm hoping people did that. I was gonna say something like, go and book something that's really hard and then commit to it. But again, that's not a physical challenge. I'm gonna give a running challenge, and I'm gonna give a physical, actual thing to go and do. Based on how my training's gone and what people don't do, and I'm gonna kind of use Lee Davis as my inspiration here, is go out and do a downhill rep session. I'm gonna do an actual physical challenge now, and I'll do it as well when my knee's a bit better. Let's call it 20 downhill reps. So what you need to do, find a hill somewhere relatively steep but not too steep. Warm up with a nice run. Don't need to do all some crazy stretches like some people do. Walk really slow up, and I mean like really slow. Try and keep the heart rate as low as possible, and then I want you to blast it downhill 20 times and just repeat. Slow up, blast down, get those quads fired up, and try and add it into your training. So this challenge is probably for people who are training for stuff.
Even if you're not, go out, run down a hill.
Go and run down a hill many times, and just feel when it's burning, it hurt. Just feel like enjoy it, because it makes so much difference to you. So that's my winging physical challenge I've just made up. Just to go and do a downhill session, because they're so important, and we don't talk about downhill sessions enough in this sport. It's all around hill reps, hill repeats, intervals.
See, I don't think I would benefit from a downhill session. You've seen me on the downhills.
You'd still benefit, wouldn't you? You'd still benefit.
I don't think I will.
You are a machine going downhill,
I do
mind.
not struggle with downhills at all, and it doesn't hurt my legs. I let it just happen. I've done some pretty long downhills.
Yeah, when you do some of your future challenges, you'll definitely need to incorporate them.
I ran down Ben Nevis just for a laugh.
Yeah.
I walked up with my mate. We hiked it up.
So you have done some downhill sessions then?
Yeah, but I don't consider it a downhill session.
Yeah, but you've done it though. So you've done the downhill sessions. So that's why you don't struggle with them, because you've been doing them already.
I've always naturally been good at it, and I think it's from free running because there's so much impact.
I think that's what I mean. Is because you're good at it. It means you do it. So you train in it because you're doing it anyway. That's what I mean. Is a lot of people are so timid going down, they don't actually do it when they're meant to as well. Because honestly, you want to see me going down some of the descents. I'm I'm just practically just walking really slow. So I need to do the downhill sessions in my training on the easy downhills. Otherwise, I won't be able to cope when it comes to the events.
From seeing you go downhill, I'm
better now than I was when you last saw me.
That was pretty fresh after your break.
I broke my hand coming down a hill, and it's still wet and slippery, and it was in my head.
Yeah.
But over the last couple of months, I've considerably improved my confidence levels coming down now. So I am getting better, and also it helps when it's dry. So that's my challenge. 20 downhill reps, blast it downhill. Make sure get those your natural body braking systems in. Little light steps, lean slightly forward. Go for it. And feel the benefits long term. Add it into your, at least once a month. I do that. I'd probably do it once every 2 weeks, because I really like them. Yeah. And also, they're easier than uphill sessions because you're running downhill. Gravity's helping you. That's why people don't.
You just let it do it. Don't try and slow yourself down, because that's when you're, like we're saying, eccentrically loading.
Don't you? at some point there's going to be a point at a downhill on a mountain where you're going to have to make a turn. So there's going to have to be some braking involved somewhere. So it's important to activate the braking as well when you're doing these reps.
No, you should see me go round.
But also you have to brake on the hill reps because you have to turn around to come back up anyway.
Just wait till it gets flat.
Yeah, but you still got to slow and you still got to slow and brake. So yeah, if anyone, give me some feedback on how you think those sessions are, because I bet you know when people do them. No. I know there's people that don't do it, because I was talking about it, they're like, I didn't even think of that. I'm like, yeah, do it. Honestly, it's really good. It really adds to your training. So yeah, I can't wait to get out and do them now.
Right, for anyone that hasn't listened to your first podcast, where can they go to find you online to keep up to date with what you're doing?
I only use Instagram, really. I love it. I think it keeps me like accountable. So that's Jenks_88. Yeah, it's mainly just me making joke memes about trail running, and sharing kind of what I'm doing. And then obviously the episode that we did was on YouTube and Spotify on your channels. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
And you got the Just Run podcast as well. So yeah, completely different to what we spoke about.
Yeah.
So
completely different vibe. Yeah. But really good podcast. So I recommend listening to both.
Yeah.
And I think I'll be probably back on there again speaking post slam. I think they want us to come on. So that'll be interesting to go back on there with some of the other guys that are doing the same challenge as me this year.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thanks again for coming down, and well done, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Adventure Athletes podcast. If you want to find out more about our guests, check out the links in the description below, where you'll also find a link to our website, our socials, and my BigMoose fundraiser. Let us know in the comments who you want to hear from next, and we'll try and get them booked on as best we can. And if you want to get involved with anything Adventure Athletes, we've got so many things going on. We've got our programming that we'll do for people trying to take their next step into their own personal adventures. We'll do sports massage. We've got events that we're organising both online and in person, and we've got some different activity days based around getting you outdoors and learning something new. So if you want to get involved, check out the website. If you want to find out more about the guest, check out the links in the description. And yeah, let us know who you want on next.